Okay.
I think, do we have to hit finish?
No. That's what closes it. Yeah, that's what closes it. Yeah, that would be bad after all. Oh, there we go. Look, you could see on the YouTube side, it actually.
We see some people. There's like 6 people. Yeah, on the YouTube side.
Okay.
Great. The YouTube picks up the mic.
Yeah, you might just have to speak a little bit louder for them, though, I think.
Okay, cool. How's the audio, everyone?
Can we turn this up? Is this... Wait. Oh, is it all the way up? Or is this just tight?
Okay. Ugh. Well, hopefully...
Check 1, 2. Check.
Do you want to hear too?
I think they could hear us.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Yeah. Sorry, y'all, if we're just taking a moment just to get the settings, as always, with live stuff. It doesn't matter how much you do. So we're striving.
We'll get OBS.
I haven't even had any alcohol yet. All right. So
it's Friday.
We're streaming. Yeah, I'm tired. So yeah, we're streaming live, both Facebook and YouTube. So right now, we have Facebook right here, YouTube right here. We try to line this up as best as possible. Change some things out from last time.
Yeah, let us know if anything can be better.
Yeah, if you can hear us, great. Okay, looks like Sharpmouth TV. They said I can hear y'all, so that's good. That's
Clinton
a good start.
Said sounds good.
It looks,
audio is clear.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you. Perfect. Okay, yeah, because as always, whenever you change new things, it doesn't matter how much practice, whatever you do, it's like technology. There's always something you got to bug.
Want to do an introduction?
Yeah.
As a J-type, I'd like to do an introduction.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Why don't you introduce us then?
Okay, well, as you guys saw from the title, I don't know which camera to look at. And we don't have any fancy thing where we can cut.
Look at both.
Okay, look at the same time.
Yeah.
All right. So welcome to the first episode of Phorensics. It's really cool that you guys are here. This is the first time we've done this. And we were thinking that we wanted to do our own little podcast. I'll say my reason why, and then I'd like to hear Jack's. But
yeah,
my reason why is because we have these conversations all the time anyway. And I would love to hear other people's thoughts while we do it. And yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, exactly. And that, and like, debating online all the time, just being a keyboard warrior, it gets tiring with your fingers. So yeah, figured to be able to talk a little bit, sometimes actually get to express things. And also, I don't know if anybody saw Phorensics,
connection.
The name. Yeah, human connection. The play on words there, right? Forensics, right?
Yes.
So again,
and I didn't misspell it. For those of you who think I just misspell.
Yeah, you misspelled. Remember, remember people used to be like, "Oh, the philosopher, you spelled philosopher."
She's like, "Oh
wrong.
Yeah, she's not a philosopher. She can't even
spell. It's like
she's a phony.
They don't even know what creative license means. It's like. But yeah, so we have more plays on words, of course, lots of humor. And yeah. Oh, and of course, as well, this cast is brought to you by Voluntarist, the comic series. True. Indiegogo campaign is going on. We're not focusing on that tonight. We're just talking more about principles. Yeah, it's blank today. We're gonna do something else coming up, but you're definitely gonna want to tune in for that because there's a new challenge. It's gonna be really fun for the next little fundraiser thing we're doing. So, but no, tonight we're just focusing on principles, basically concepts of principles, and
as the title says, why it's hard for people to apply principles. And
it really is hard for people to apply principles. I don't blame them too. You know what I mean? I get it because I'm a law school graduate. So when you go to law school, lots of people, they first year in law school, they cannot help it but just bring out all kinds of random facts from their life into legal issues and laws and stuff like that. And they don't know how to just apply things, linearly, logically. They have these, pre-built and, conceived ideas.
Is that why you have a lot of judges ruling against the Constitution, for example?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, when it comes to what judges are doing, different types of review, I mean, that's just a matter of different judges having different ways that they interpret the Constitution. Some people see the Constitution as a living document, as some people like to say, where they constantly reinterpret with the culture. There's originalists, right. There's different types of originalists, people who look at original intent.
And that just throws out the original purpose of it. It was supposed to be to restrain the federal government. It was an agreement amongst the state governments.
To some extent, yeah. I mean, obviously reinterpreting things, wantonly does defeat the purpose of having a constitution, right? The idea of not that the constitution is going to really restrict anything, as everybody I think has figured that part out, right? But at least in theory, right?
State's going to say criminals are going to do criminal things,
right? The idea is, okay, hey, this is supposed to be something that doesn't change, that is held until it actually gets changed. But of course, go to California where the lawsuits, for every little thing you can imagine originate because the judges there are crazy activist judges. So it's like, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, contracts that, whatever, we'll rewrite those. Oh, the law, whatever, we'll rewrite that. Right. Except for that one judge just recently, right? That judge who struck down, he basically said, hey, California's law on
magazines,
banning the magazines. He said, no, that's a no-go. But then,
as we saw, it was quickly put back on the books.
Well, because what was it? The chief or state attorney basically said, hey, we're going to keep it going with the ban until this appeal is done. So as always, the government officials, they like to just do whatever they're going to do. Doesn't matter what people say, like, oh, liberty up. No, don't need that. We're just going to keep enslaving you.
Yeah. I keep thinking of the image of an ivory tower. Like they declare things from their sanctuaries. They, rule over everybody else, and they're protected by armed guards. They have surveillance cameras, and the best stuff, like it reminds me of Bernie Sanders, for example. I think I saw a quote of him where he said, you guys can be a millionaire too. Just write a best-selling book.
Oh gosh. Yeah. That was hilarious.
And that phrase alone is not like a big deal said by somebody other than Bernie. Bernie says it. It's like, wait a minute, you're the one declaring that there should be heavy taxation on the 1%, which he's a part of. And it's so crazy that he would just blatantly lie to the media. So I hope that people who were supporting Bernie, including a lot of people that I know and are friends with, like, they just supported him. And I hope that they will kind of see the hypocrisy in front of them and change their mind. I think this will hopefully wake up some people. I don't know.
Well, I agree. I mean, obviously, when Hillary, right, and she did the whole DNC thing, obviously,
and like paid him off.
Some people were like, okay, clearly Bernie, folds like a cheap suit and his crony. But of course, there's still diehard Bernie fans. I mean, this next level of, oh, okay, I'm a 1%er, I'm a millionaire. Oh, well, did you, give up your taxes at the 52% tax rate you said? Oh, no, I just pay my fair share. And
right.
It just shows you that, as
he
always.
He pays his interns below the minimum wage.
Right. Or he pays them below the wage that he, says that people should be paid. It's just always, do as I say, not as I do. Exactly. So.
Someone said, love your videos. Thank you.
Oh, yes. And speaking of which, if anybody shows any love here on the super chats in particular, that does go to support. Thank you very much again for the.
I got my ad.
Yeah.
So thank you guys.
Yeah.
All
right.
People who super chatted last time.
For the comic series. Yes. So thank you so much to the people who support last time. That was awesome of you to help support. So things are going well with that. And, we're ahead of schedule, but still need to get the goal. So
yeah.
Quick thank you to everybody there.
Can I say, by the way, logistically, Facebook has an interesting view, but YouTube, we're streaming from a different camera, and you can see a lot more of what's going on. So for those US types out there, hey, I would want to know. So just so you know, you can go to YouTube and get another view.
Right. Yeah, you can always go to YouTube and get the widescreen view as opposed to the limited Facebook one. I mean, we could use OBS Studio, but we're not there yet. We're working on what we want to do for that later. And in case you want to know what's the juice of choice today, it is the.
Wait, is that copyrighted? Oh my gosh!
Oh my gosh!
Article 17.
This may get blocked immediately in the European Union now. Sorry, European Unioners, but Moonstone.
Now it's gonna be blocked in their country.
Right, and. Sorry, again, did we figure out this issue with the reverse thing on Facebook? I don't think we did. All right, sorry, Facebook. Moonstone, Asian Parasaki. All right, YouTubers, you can actually see it. So Moonstone, Asian Parasaki. I wish I could be making money off of telling you that we're drinking this, but we're not. So there you go. There's no paid sponsorships for that. We're just not good enough capitalists yet, but We're getting there.
But Moonstone, if you're out there.
Yes. Thank you for that. Delicious.
Philosopher@gmail.com.
Yeah. We will gladly drink more of your beverages. Gladly.
Right. You got to just force our hand.
Wait, yeah, exactly. It's like if we weren't making money on something, sorry, we're going to eventually. We're just working on that part. So yeah, sorry for all the FCC disclaimers, whatever. The FTC disclaimers.
Right. I'm just drinking water, H2O. Good old water.
Good old water. Yeah. Is that the Alex Jones water? Right. Yeah, I love how Alex Jones was. He's on the Logan Paul show, and he's like, "Let's have some water, guys." It's like they're all there on camera, so like Alex Jones like pretending, like he smokes the nicotine cigar on Joe Rogan. Yeah, right. It's like, yeah, this is totally tobacco. It's like, okay, yeah.
I think it was because. No. You saw the twinkle in his eye.
Oh, goodness.
And when someone has a twinkle in his eye, it means he's telling the truth.
I don't know about that one. But
that was an example of sophistry.
Yeah, that was. I don't blame him for saying that, but yeah, I mean, I'm just glad he's getting lit in front of tons of children. That's awesome.
Didn't think of it that way.
Yeah,
but it did get millions and millions of views. There was probably a little bit was PewDiePie's 9-year-old army.
Yeah.
A little bit was the alt-right over here. A little bit was the voluntaries over here. And then you probably got some lefties or...
Well, definitely the Logan Paul show. Definitely some mainstream people, but...
Yeah, I think some mainstream people go watch Joe Rogan, I'm sure.
I do appreciate that he dropped some truth bombs there. He did at least, drop some information about past government actions. So, I mean, hey, if those people watching end up Googling that, I'm all about that.
Right.
So, yeah, dropping truth bombs. Always a nice thing.
Yeah. So I'm like, do we need to stay on topic?
At least this time it doesn't matter if we stay on topic. And probably some people here too. Yeah, let
us know.
This gun
stay
here,
on topic. Yes,
don't worry.
No.
This is just a prop gun. It's not. Yeah, it's not a loaded real gun or anything like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we're just posing here. Sorry, I know we're just looking hard, but no, this is a non-functioning toy. God, so we're just trying to look hard. You know what I mean? For that subscribership, we gotta
speak for yourself.
Extra hard, yeah.
I don't need to try. I'm already looking hard.
Oh my goodness.
Came out wrong.
Yeah,
anyway.
We're just gonna leave it at that before people start, claiming that you're actually
Send a super chat if you like that joke.
Right. Oh gosh. But so let's take a look here on the list of items. I'm just flexing and fleshing through some of the memeage from this week. Something that was just shared. Oh, here's a good one, right? So private insurance denying coverage for procedure, right? Statists are like, rah, right? When it comes to medicine. And then at that time, the UK government literally stopped people from trying to save a kid and getting him help somewhere else. I mean, that to me, how much more evil can you get, right? How much more evil can you get?
It felt so helpless to just watch these stories.
Yeah.
I feel like that happens a lot every day. We just watch articles here and there on further and further restriction on freedom, more tyrants trying to stop from being free and to feed off of us. And yeah, it's just I feel like we're in that everyday struggle, struggling to trying to be happy and be optimistic and trying to change the world for the better. I mean, I know I struggle with it personally. And then just especially seeing all these articles, like that one in particular, that was going on for several weeks, and we're just watching the developments unfold, hoping things turn out right. But
yeah, no, I mean, that's what is crazy is that, people don't get that you can't ignore economics, right? You can be ignorant of economics, but economic reality is not going to ignore you.
Yeah, it's like the laws of physics. I mean, you can jump off a bridge, you can believe that things will be fine, but you're going to fall.
No amount of mystical thinking can make you think that the government's going to ethically and effectively manage health, especially when the incentive structure is, okay, if everybody has no barriers to entry access to healthcare based on the government, providing it, then that means that everybody who has a time preference where they can just do whatever they want. Maybe they work part-time, maybe they're stay at home, whatever. Maybe they're just poor. They'd be like, oh, look, I stubbed my toe. I'm going to go call a doctor. Oh, look, I'm not feeling well. Even if they, will be fine, I'm going to go to the doctor. And eventually tons of people just start booking it up, filling it up for every little thing. And
that happens in Canada.
Right. It's the same old thing. There's no barrier to entry. And so, okay, well, every little thing, I'm going to go.
Right. And then you quickly see like, the cost of healthcare, of government-run healthcare going up and up and up compared to private.
Right. Oh,
and
yeah.
It just keeps increasing. On that note, people like to say, "Oh, the U.S. is an example of capitalist healthcare," and it's like, no, it's not. There's so much
quasi-capitalist. Yeah, I mean,
in the medical industry. I actually want to be a doctor, but I was like researching, looking at the regulations. I interviewed a couple anesthesiologists, and they told me that the regulations are a burden. And I had some family doctors who said the same. They saw a huge decrease in the number of people applying to be family doctors, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And there's government choking the medical industry in America. So it may have some semblance of private property and private ownership, but there's a lot of state intervention.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just all the regulation that comes through, Medicare, Medicaid, HIPAA, all the different things that, now basically doctors are just spending their time filling out paperwork.
Yeah.
And they have to hire like 10, people just for medical staff just to do the paperwork. And then, of course, the government uses that as the backdoor way to like get people's medical records by like, checking for compliance.
Right.
Right. And then it's like, the government basically has made it so that as you noted, private practice pediatricians can't really, you can't really afford it. Right. I mean, the small doctors just can't do it. I remember, I think it was an article posted that there was this elderly woman doctor who'd been practicing for like 50 something years. And she just did all of her medical records, traditionally on paper, nothing crazy. I mean, it was all there. Took care of her patients, no problem. Continued education. The government's like, if you don't make it digital, we're gonna, take you down. And she closed her practice because she's like, the amount of expense it would take to digitize and move up was just not worth it before retirement. So she's like, I'll just retire early, I guess.
I think I heard about that story at an IJ presentation at a Students for Liberty conference.
And yeah, actually, they may have done that too. Okay, so you were just saying one real quick.
Oh my God!
So it says, hold on, Todd. Is that Rankles or
Todd.
Rankles? Great. Now I feel like old.
No, it's not.
I can't
Rankles.
see. Okay. Hi guys. Government is slavery. The end.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for your support on the series, and thank you so much for telling us what we know and what everybody else needs to know is that government is slavery. The end. I mean, it's kind of crazy that once you actually get to that realization that the nature of the state is completely antithetical to individual liberty and consent ethics and everything else, and it's like, oh, okay. And it's like people are like, well, what about bad guys and this that. It's like, this is just an ethical thing. It's like just like slavery. It's like you don't have to sit there and say, well, what's going to happen with every single slave? Are they going to get jobs? Can they read or write? It's like, it doesn't matter that question. What matters is the question of, is what's happening ethical? And if it's not ethical, then it's time to figure out how to do better ethically. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is actually a nice tie-in back to the original topic of the live stream.
Like, it is.
Why it's hard for people to apply principles. One big thing I think is fear. Fear is a really, really huge one. And I remember talking about fear for the past 3 years since Philosopher's been up and running.
Has it been that long? 3 years?
I think so, yeah.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah. Fear and principles. Fear and loathing and lost principles.
Yes, fear and loathing and lost principles. There's a lot, but we'll focus on fear. And I remember talking about this with Jeff Berwick on Anarchast, which was the first interview I ever did. Shout out to Anarchist. That was cool. Thanks for the first interview, Jeff Berwick. That was awesome.
De-virginizing your interviewing your podcast name, whatever.
Man, I look on that podcast with humility because that was the first time I was doing something public, and it was interesting. Oh, is that strong? Is that way?
It's weird. You wouldn't think it would be, but it's 12%. But for some reason, it has a little extra kick.
It's pretty strong.
The 12%. I mean,
when I say 12%,
baby weight.
Some people just laugh. Yeah, they call it baby weight.
To you, yeah. I mean, to you, it's like half a beer is dangerous, but
this is true. That's why I'm on water.
On that water before the show.
There's another reason, but
Yeah.
But yes, fear is a big part. And, what does fear do? When you're feeling scared, your amygdala is firing, you're in fight or flight mode, you're like, you're like kind of freaking out. And even if you don't show it out on the outside, like inside, you're quote unquote triggered. That's what partially what being triggered is. It's like when your fight or flight mode kicks in, and because of something that someone said or did, some microaggression.
Oh gosh, I mean, it is true. There is a real thing of being
really is a
psychologically triggered, but like, there's people who are just so dysfunctional that they're triggered by everything, violence. And they're like, oh, I'm so triggered, therefore you get to
you need to
get beaten and shut up. Right,
exactly. So fear is a big part, and this comes back into people's childhood. Like, that's where it all comes from. And why? It's so simple. Like, just think of your old life, think of your friends, think of your family, think of anyone you ever look into the story of. Usually if it's somebody who did something later in life, like they raped somebody, they're okay with stealing. It did.
They raped somebody. All right, that escalated really quick.
I'm just saying, like,
all right.
Some, person, they violate another person. You look into their childhood and you'll be sure to find, most likely, that there is some issue that they're abandoned or they're abused in some way.
Right.
You just look across the board, and sure, there may be exceptions. I accept that. But most people,
Right. I mean, by and large,
get
right.
Dysfunctional from a healthy, loving childhood.
Oh, absolutely.
Where you were affirmed and taken care of. Like, it comes from turmoil. People who were, humiliated as kids, shamed, left alone,
even just looking at your typical people, like, and these days, where do you see it the most in terms of like the physical word triggering meltdown, SJW violence, right? It's on college campuses and stuff where I know, right? They get physically violent over, speech and words. And if you look at these people, I mean, seriously,
I also feel sad when I think about it, where it comes from.
True.
Like, I laugh at first because it's just so like, whoa.
Right. And most of these people, as you noted, they come from a very dysfunctional childhood. They usually had parents who were not there for them, who fostered, their victimized, mentality.
Left them in public school.
Oh, gosh.
Bullied and made fun of.
Don't even get me started on public schools. If I go there, it's
all part
it's going down.
I know.
But
this is how our weekends go, guys. We talk about things like this. We talk about public school. We talk about parenting, peaceful parenting.
Right.
So thank you for hanging out.
Yeah.
Oh, I see a lot of hearts.
There's some hearts there, I think. There's also look at this. I just have a little tiny bottle of sake.
Okay, I feel like we posted several images.
Yeah, this is
a little bottle.
This is the final form sake. This is like when you've gone Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan, Super Sake, Super Saiyan.
This is now blocked in the EU. Oh no!
I know, gosh. There we go. Article 13 gone. Or what is it? Article 17 now or whatever? I don't even know.
It's like, but I'm not trying to steal their idea. Yeah. I paid for it.
Yes, I paid for this sake. This is free advertising. They should be grateful. But oh my goodness.
And if they don't like it, they could contact me personally. I'm a reasonable person. You don't gotta point guns at me. Just send me a message. All right, you want me to take it off?
Right.
Hey,
I'd appreciate if you didn't show that you like our drinks. Please don't tell people that you enjoy our drinks. We totally don't want that. It's just so stupid.
I mean, it's okay if they do. There may be people who are like that. But that's their prerogative. Just don't point guns at me.
Right.
Or anyone else. That's all I'm asking.
Not too hard, but a lot of people, it's easy for them to point guns, right? Try to put it back to the principal thing. It's easy to point guns when you're not the person pointing the gun, right?
That's the thing. Most people don't point the gun.
Yeah.
But most people advocate for guns to be pointed because most people believe in the state. Most people believe that you should have some group of people with the monopoly on force and violence.
Right. And that's the thing that that's why the government is or the psychology of government is so effective at manipulating people, is because they don't actually have to do the action, right? When it's an easy out, it's very easy to be like, oh, I'm just going to pass this off to some ethereal thing, someone else, someone somewhere is going to do this. And it's like, when you don't have to actually face the consequences,
it's easy to abstract and be like, I want this, I want gun control,
right?
Like, because you don't understand it yourself.
Right. You don't have to actually sit there and say, oh, this to do this actually requires people with guns to go and threaten people. And it's like, if you're threatening people with guns over something that is not harming someone else's physical body or property, then you're just a violent, psychopath, sociopath, whichever way you want to go. I mean, there's nothing else to it. Like, what that boils down to is, if you think goods and services should be provided at the barrel of a gun, you're basically passing off your, ethics, to somebody else to just basically do wanton violence.
Yep, exactly. It makes me think of, I just imagined the videos I've seen of the DEA breaking down people's doors. I saw one in particular that I'll never forget, and I saw it when I was really young, watching Cops. Anyone remember that?
Oh, God.
Bad Boys.
Who can forget?
I watched that when I was
What you want?
a
What
wee
you gonna
little
do?
lass.
Oh, there goes Article 13.
Right.
Done.
Oh my gosh, everything.
We just sang Cops for 2 seconds. It's over.
Some people have the mindset like, and so be it. You shouldn't copy others. I'm like, you hum a tune all the time.
Right.
Like, it's just silly. It's like, your argument is that no one would watch my video if I didn't hum the song. It's like, no, you're just making it less and less entertaining with every single law you put.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah,
it's insane. Oh, really quick, just interluding. I think this is Abel. Again, I think I'm just getting old, but Abel says Julian Assange is make or break for Trump.
That's an interesting thought.
I don't know if I'd say make or break, because Trump.
For certain people, yes.
For some people, not for people who are voluntarists or voluntarists. Like, he's president. Okay, he's already enacting violence against people through his role.
It was broken a long time ago.
And
for some
those people who put their faith in him because he was a wild card in the public sphere, political sphere. To me, he wasn't, because you look at his history of who he supported, and he ran, for president in 2000s. There's a long history, but. You know what I mean? Like, he's already banned more gun parts than Obama, increased federal spending by signing off on, spending bills, has continued the wars abroad, including vetoing the bill that was going to end the support of the civil war in Yemen. He said himself, he's like, oh, we're going to, take the guns first, due process later. And he's like, supporting the red flag law is absolutely insane. And obviously he is all about using taxpayer money and getting more taxpayer money to build a wall, which is basically, using eminent domain to steal people's property. That right there is totally corrupt and evil, to take people's property by force, because that's what it's going to take to actually build something like that. So, that's just a short list. Obviously, there's even more, you can go to tariffs and things like that. And some people are like, oh, look, he didn't join, like, NAFTA, and he cut corporate tax, individual tax rates, and it's like, you can look at that, but then also look at the deductions that they took away.
Every president, most of the presidents, the past ones at least that I've witnessed, like, they will do something that was what their voter base wanted and voted them in for. They will appeal to their voter base, and they want re-election. Right. This is his first term, Trump's first term. So he's gonna play. It's so blatantly clear he's playing the cards. He's playing, both sides. He's trying to, appeal to certain people here, shaking hands with Saudi Arabia.
Right. Yeah. Weapons sales to Saudi Arabia.
Doing their rituals, like that weird globe ritual.
Right. Selling them weapons. It's the government wants to disarm you, right? But the governments armed half the world powers, right?
Right. They're like, hey, we gotta keep the guns out of hands of criminals.
Don't have assault weapons, but my God, let's sell it to China, Qatar, UAE. Let's sell, arms to.
Let's take all the money that we steal from you, the billions and millions, and not to mention the ones we just print off of, print in your name, and like give it to all these clear criminals.
Right. People who clearly are persecuting and murdering people. It's just absolutely insane. Yeah. But on that note, we're going to eventually make it to this. We're going to. Principles.
Right.
Why is it so hard? Because people get distracted. We're getting distracted.
I'm cold. I'm distracted by this.
Okay. So I'll hold it until you get back for 10 seconds.
Yeah,
oh, you are? Okay. You are really? Okay. So yeah, it's basically people are getting distracted by belief in, there you go. Belief in political leaders and the excitement of hoping to have salvation in a person, and not realizing that, the further up you go in the political chain, the near impossibility it is to meaningfully do anything, because there's too many vested interests and deep interests. And when people get excited about that, they think, oh, this is my guy. It's going to be this time. It's like, no, it's just not. You can do it time and again. It's just not going to happen, because again, there's way too much history, money, family connectedness with people who are in, especially like that higher level federal government, central banking part.
I understand the sentiment, though.
Yeah. Oh, of course, I understand the especially if you're young.
This comes back to what we were saying earlier about childhood. Like what I found, it always comes back to childhood. Whenever I'm talking to anyone and trying to have a conversation, trying to change their mind, and if they're throwing ad homs at me saying that I'm stupid or whatever, if I make an argument and they just respond with, well, you're stupid anyway, and then, you know what I mean, like, I'm like trying to talk to them, and it's not like I get to know the childhood of everyone I talk to, like, they're not going to just say. But sometimes as a parent, like they just say it themselves. Like if the topic is about spanking, for example, I'll have people just say, well, I was spanked and I turned out fine, things like that. So then they're revealing about their childhood. So I know from those, examples, like, okay, you were spanked. Like, it's not like you were never spanked. And then you're like, you know what? Punitive measures make sense. You know what I mean? Like I've always seen someone who's okay with spanking.
You rationalize the abuse and further it down the road. Right.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, tying back into principles again, principles, they're just so hard because again, it's very easy to get excited by an issue. It's very easy to get excited by a person that's like, ooh, this person could be the savior here today. And even now we're seeing that, right? People who are like the Yang Gang, right? Which I just hope that at the end of the day, that really is just a 4chan prank to split the den ticket. But I mean, it's this whole idea of, okay, this guy's gonna really give us, the bag of money we've always needed, and he's gonna accelerate things to, the end already. It's like
that nihilism taking over.
Right, that nihilism taking over. The Hong Kong clown people, right? It's like, yeah, folks.
I like those memes at first, but then I dug into the psychology.
Yeah.
Like at first I'm like, oh, cute rainbows, clown.
I'm glad that those people actually are on that. I do appreciate that they're like, oh, okay, things are throttling toward the abyss. Yes, exactly. That's the point.
I like
things
part
are
of their
throttling
message,
toward
though,
that.
because in a way, to me, I don't know if that's their intention, but it's almost like a form of guerrilla tactics, spreading the idea that things are going downhill, but in like with the clown. So people might be like, what's the cloud? Like, what's this about? And then just upon reading it, they're like, wait, what? What do you mean things are going to shit? Like, I mean, oops.
Demonetized. Article 13. We're done. All right, it's over. We just gotta stop the live stream. It's okay. Over. We're done. Okay.
Entrepreneur idea. This is gonna happen on Article 17. Somebody, if not us, will make some sort of software that like auto censors you as you speak into the mic. Oh my
goodness, that'd be horrible. Absolutely horrible.
I think
PewDiePie just does that because it's like he wants to get the kids ad revenue, but we don't care about the kids. I mean, we do care about the kids. Well, hold on. Now, there goes out of context. Immediate news story. No, we don't care about little kids, 9-year-olds.
Last episode of Forensics.
This is not really meant for them. We hope that their parents have the discernment to not just let them, wantonly roll all over the internet.
Thank you again, Abel. Is it Abel?
Abel?
Oh, it's Abel.
I think. So he says, do you believe that MAGA is MIGA over MAGA? And I have no idea because I don't even know what that acronym is.
What's MIGA? Okay, let's guess. Do you believe that Trump is make Iceland? I mean,
my only guess, and I'm just going to assume Israel great again, properly. I mean, obviously.
Which president hasn't had ties to Israel? Which president?
No, well, yeah, of course, the Israeli lobby has a very big influence, on American politics. I mean, to ignore that would be foolish. But again, this is the issue of statism applies to every state.
I can't say one or the other.
Right. I mean, like Saudi Arabia, again, the Bush family connections, the oil family connections, the Israeli lobby, AIPAC, and all that other stuff. This is not unique to one government, and it's not unique to one people. There are, all kinds of cronyism and backdoor deals happening across all kinds of governments.
Yeah. You know what I will say, though? I believe that Trump is MTGA. Make Trump great again.
And that
as
really
in himself,
right? And that really explains the political situation, right?
Yeah.
The politicians want to enrich themselves. They want to benefit themselves. They want to get reelected. It's like
He was donating to politicians in DC, like in New York. For his whole time in real estate.
He was greasing the wheels because obviously he wanted to get his buildings built.
His buildings, right.
That's not hard to figure out.
Maybe that's part of his success, that he was political, right? And had these
Trump's not a dumb guy. I mean, a lot of people started to say Trump's not like, no.
And said, hey, don't whatever tax me or enforce this or whatever. Right. Let me just pay you off.
Yeah.
We're good, right?
Absolutely.
Or like, I'll fund your campaign. And then there's that quote win-win amongst the cronies.
Absolutely.
Amongst the corporatists, that, you could say the capitalists. They are capitalists. They're just corrupt, in my opinion,
Right. I mean, that's exactly what to be expected. Is someone who's really smart trying to play the political game is going to grease whatever wheels they need to get whatever projects they want done, because that's how it works. I mean, as much as people try to be like, oh yeah, government, constitution, democracy, blah, blah, blah. Like, the reality is everybody knows it's the people who are greasing the wheels of politicians that are getting those stamps of approvals on their, construction projects.
Like Bernie, so many people greased his wheels.
Oh my goodness.
He's a career politician.
Of course. I mean, just his level of cronyism and corruption is just so obvious. I mean, the fact that he folded to Hillary like that, I mean, that really, I'm glad he did, because it showed his fans.
That's true.
Quite a number of them did leave that. I'm glad.
And I think it also avoided a fear, because I did notice that Bernie swept up a lot of people who are like passionate, who really like, he used the rhetoric of, believe he was anti-war, right?
I mean, he voted against some things. Yes, he did vote against some things, but at the end of the day, Bernie has always never been someone who's like outright anti-war against all possible things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I just remember in his campaign, like, he was just showing that he was like, I'm of the people. I want to help the people stop spending money overseas, whatever, bank bailouts. Like, he kind of talked about some of these things that people are just fed up with.
Absolutely. He was like a left side pander to the anti-cronyism, the Occupy Wall Street kind of.
That's what a politician does. They appeal to,
right.
They select their base, and then they appeal to their frustrations, and then they say, I'm going to fix it.
I mean, that literally, you just described every single political campaign is find that targeted narrow thing of what people are really angry at, folks, and drum it up.
Next year, we're going to see all the ads. Ooh, on that note, we should make like a political ad. That'd be fun. Like,
no, I'm good.
No, I mean like a sarcastic one, like just to pretend.
I mean, we could make mock ones to make fun of
people. Yeah, like a mock one. Like I saw one where it's just like, hi, I'm going to promise to change everything. Everything is messed up, and I'm going to do, what I can to fix it. I don't know. It's just hilarious.
I mean, that's been done. There's a couple of funny videos of like politicians like this, but yeah, it's the same thing every year. It's the same thing of politicians. That's what they do. Their job is to promise people the world. And of course, the nature of their position means that they're just going to rob you anyway. Like Cardi B, right? Cardi B was like, I'm going to give you, my booty or whatever. She's dancing this or that. And then she drugged guys and took their stuff. It's like, it's the same thing.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, man. But yeah, I mean.
TJ Eckert said a good quote. I forgot who she compared. She endorsed Bernie.
Right, because she's like, oh, Bernie. It's right. Right.
Like, oh, Bernie likes artificial drug people.
Exactly. Yeah, like pretend, you're going to help and then take it. But that's just the nature of politics, is that, the whole incentive structure is built around enriching, empowering someone for re-election. So,
yeah. Someone said, 2020 Bernie for old folks, homie. Home?
An old folks home for Bernie would be generous. That's for sure.
I thought he said for old folks, homie, but he said for the old folks home.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be there soon. I mean, speaking of people who need to get to an old folks home, I really hope Ruth Bader Ginsburg makes it there sooner than later, for sure. You know what I mean? Yeah. We definitely need to get rid of the Supreme Court justices who really... What?
I wish Trump, one of the things that I thought about, during the election, Trump, like in 2016, that, in terms of what I would prefer, Trump or Hillary, I thought, I did see an article about Trump saying that he would consider Andrew Napolitano for Supreme Court. Okay.
Right, because on the FedSoc list, yeah.
Right, and oh, so it was like indirect.
I mean, it's always the same hype. It's the same garbage. They're like, oh yeah, they're totally going to do this thing. Same thing every time.
True.
We're going to promise the world, and then when they get in office, oh whoops, I guess we're just going to have to do the same old, old.
Indict
more
Hillary.
Wars, more debt.
Right. We're gonna indict
Less individual
Hillary.
liberty.
We're gonna pull out of Syria.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Right. Like, okay, arrest Julian Assange, and it's hilarious. People are like, oh,
and
yeah,
he talks about WikiLeaks. He was like, WikiLeaks is
4D
great.
chess.
And then now he's like,
oh yeah,
I don't know WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks. What? Who
it
is
might
this?
as well be English. It's like I don't know.
It reminds me of the story of like
Weird.
Jesus and Peter, and it's like denying him 3 times. Like, I do not know Julian Assange. Who is this Julian Assange? What is this WikiLeaks? It's the same. It's the same thing every time because their whole goal is to make sure they stay as popular and as electable as possible. So
I know, and the 4D chess is part of it. I mean, I wonder if it has come across, if not Trump himself, but the social media team at least that he has, that like people are saying, it's 4D chess. Like, I wonder if they've seen that inside joke yet. Just kind of like
they could have. He's got a good social media team
because that just feeds into it. It's like, yes, keep thinking that I'm on your side, but even when I do things that are clearly not on your side and not your best interest, you'll believe that in the end, I'll do something for you.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just thankful that, not that I'm happy about the actions. Obviously, I wish the best for every situation. I wish that, politicians actually did do something good for once. Yeah. But many people have now become disillusioned and realized that no matter who gets in office, there's more, war and theft and government spending and individual rights erosion.
Right. And of course, depending where you are in society, you will feel differently depending on the president, right? Like, for example, if you're in the poverty level, having a government that, has social welfare programs, education, like free college, stuff like that, things that you personally value, you're not going to feel so enslaved, right? And especially if you're not footing the bill, like, if you're not, like,
at least immediately, right? Not obviously you're going to foot the bill,
right? Through inflation, through spending, right? But you're not paying the income taxes if you don't have a home. Well, I guess if you're renting, you're paying the property
right.
taxes.
You're paying the tax. They're rolled into the bill. Yeah.
So you're paying property tax.
Oh, you
so
are.
Just income taxes.
You are.
Hey, that's a good lesson itself. It's like, I was just thinking income taxes, but wait, there's more. There's more taxes. It's like, oh no, more taxes.
It really is
pretty crazy how many taxes there are. And remember, that's things like having to renew your tabs every year, things like having to have your license and registration.
Right. Or just like, I think you just shared recently here, talking about like property taxes, right? And how that's just neo-feudalism. It is. It's
is. How is it no different than, the feudalists of back then in like China? You're just like, there's that warlord,
I know, right?
They're like, hey, give me some of your, farm produce or whatever.
It's really insane, I'm going to bring public school, of course. But like in public schools, right? They're like, oh my goodness, these people had feudalism in Japan, Middle Ages. Like, oh, boogeyman bad. And it's like, wait a second. You're worried about these peasants who all they ever did was, work on the land and they get only a little piece. They never actually own the land. It's like, that's literally what is happening right now with property taxes, where the government says, hey, pay us every year or we're going to take your house from you. And it's like,
I was talking to my parents about this the other day. They were, my parents are both immigrants, and I guess all sets of my parents, but
that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
That's true. All 4 of my sets of,
most people are technically immigrants at some level here, but
right.
But you're just a little more recent.
Yeah. But I was talking to them about it, and they just kind of like realized, they're like, huh, you're right. I was like, so what happens if you stop paying your property taxes? Like what if you've paid off your house? Is it your house, or do you still have to pay property taxes? And I knew the answer. It's just me dropping seeds,
Right.
But I just wanted to hear what they thought about it. And to my surprise, they were like immediately like, oh, wait a minute. The government issues you a notice and like, hey, you better pay. And if you don't, we're going to come take your house and foreclose on it.
Right.
And then people lost their homes. And some of these people were people who were retired. They paid off their mortgage probably years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And just because they couldn't afford the property taxes, which increased because of, the artificial inflation of the housing market and prices.
And dollar inflation was.
Right. Then the property taxes caught up. So now they're paying more property taxes, even though they paid off their house.
Right.
Then it's like foreclosed because you can't afford the property taxes. It's sad because a lot of people who were retired and in that situation were forced to go rent. My parents had to do that during the crash.
Wow.
Their home was foreclosed on. The one you visited, actually. So, they had to rent for a few years, wait it out, and then try and get their home back.
Wow.
So,
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy what people, they literally think like, oh, I'm free. And then when you actually ask them the hard questions about fear. What do you actually do?
That's part of the fear and the uncomfortableness with reality.
Right.
Which again, that's why it's hard to apply principles, because when you start to apply principles, I know in my own experience, which is anecdotal, but in my own experience, like just starting to okay, I forgot. I lost my
oh boy.
I drank some of your sake.
Did you? Okay. Well, I can keep it going until it comes back. So principles, why they're difficult is because sometimes it's uncomfortable to have to sit there and be like, okay,
face reality.
I have to be consistent in this principle and apply it no matter what, no matter who it is, no matter what the situation is, even if you don't like the activity, whatever it is, you have to be consistent. And
I think it's hardest when you apply it to yourself, like your own actions. You know what I mean? Like, it's really easy to be like, hey, they're doing wrong, they're so bad, like to judge others. When you look at yourself and like start to try and be honest, like, for example, I just blurted out and said they were dumb and stupid. Did I really mean that? No, I just felt angry with something else they did earlier, but I never told them. You know what I mean? And so you're like, some people will just justify it. It's easier to just be like, but I was in the right. He is stupid for doing that. He deserves it. You know what I mean? Because it's in that moment, they're like suffering this almost cognitive dissonance because they have this principle inside of, I shouldn't, hurt people, shame people. Most people have that. Most people that, you come across with in everyday life, they usually like.
Or at least they don't act on it. You know what I mean? Like some people might be like, I'm angry at this or that, but they have the self-modulation. Be like, okay, I really don't want to actually act on these things. You might be mad at somebody, but.
Right, true. Most people have some semblance of wanting property rights, though. And like,
absolutely.
Like in the most elementary way, this is mine. Most people have that concept. This is mine. Don't touch my stuff without my permission. Like,
I love doing that with comedies and seeing how far they can go. Because it's hilarious.
Bring it back to first principles.
First principles, right? And like, there's personal and private property.
Debate
it's like,
tip,
really?
Debate tip. Bring it back to first principles.
Yeah, that's why, like, with a lot of people too, principles and language and stuff. Sometimes you have to strip away all the jargon and the different things that people label and this or that, and just say, screw the labels, screw the things you're used to hearing, whatever. Leave it off the table. Let's just talk about people, actors, and actions, and that's it. And let's just walk through what's going to happen.
Things we're talking about.
Right.
Be as specific as possible in your language. Another debate tip, or just a conversation and critical thinking tip. Really,
it is. It's a very important critical thinking tip, because if you don't actually get to a synthesis on, shared terms of what you're talking about, you're never going to move forward, because you're arguing at each other about definitions and labels instead of, okay, what's actually taking place. So that's a tough thing for a lot of people, especially if you're a commie.
Yeah.
Not anybody here, right? Okay. Commies can, of course, watch. Hopefully they're learning, but
I'm no longer a commie because I was indoctrinated in American school.
You were never commie. I don't really think.
I was just joking because I'm from China.
I used to be a neo, right? Yeah, I used to be a neocon, but you used to be what? Like, would you say mainstream, I was like progressive welfare statist?
Lefty, liberal. I know. What is that? Okay. Side note: I've just seen this. A dude who's like conservative in some way, to libertarian, like into economics, whatever, into politics, and then someone who's more into their feelings, like with like a girl who's more into feelings, like, oh, we got to take care of everybody, let's have welfare programs, kind of thing. Like, I've seen that kind of trend. Anyway.
Oh well, I mean that, like, I think personally, I just say it's like tying in this concept of like guys who tend to be more assertive which tend to be in that genre of those conservative guys, are attracted to girls who tend to be a little bit more into their feelings. Yeah, I think that's a very natural like male-female dynamic. And guys are attracted to the feminine, girls are attracted to someone who's stable.
True,
so
that's true.
But of course, that's a horrible metric for forming a relationship because
but it's a common
it's a common trope, but
I think from biological just differences.
Being a shared virtue and shared goals and growth is way more important. Absolutely. So which brings us back to principles, which is why principles are difficult for people because even in relationships,
we covered a lot of reasons.
We did. Yeah.
This is more off the cuff. This isn't a video like 1, 2, 3.
I mean, it's just episode 1, so we'll see where it goes. But it's something that people struggle with because again, it's very easy to reach out for creature comforts or love or affection that seems within your grasp than to hold strong to your standard of principles and ethics. Some people are just like, well, maybe I'm not going to find someone who really wants to grow like me, really appreciates wisdom and knowledge and philosophy, so I'll just settle, right? And that's sad. It's a sad thing because it's hard.
Because it can become hard to be like, oh, for example, like, oh, maybe the person that I would like and get to know, they're taken, so like, okay, can't do that. Or it's like, oh, the people who are single, like, there's something off here, like,
Right.
So they'll be like, okay, who's the best dysfunctional person I can find? Like, best of the dysfunctional.
The best dysfunctional person, or barely enough.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough
that happened
out
to me too. I wasn't always quote more functional than I was. I used to be more dysfunctional.
Oh no, I've made my fair share of poor relationship decisions.
Yep. Same.
I'm sure people here have as well. I'm sure many people here have had exes that are like, wow, how did I do that?
Or my own poor mistreatment of people, yelling at someone, shaming them.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how to get my needs met. And that's a really big part, again, it ties back to childhood, like what we were saying earlier.
In principle. Yeah.
Right. If you're neglected as a kid or abused, you didn't get your needs met.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of theories on the needs kids have. And of course, isn't like objective per se. It's not written, somewhere like these are the needs that humans have. This has been, it's more of an observational.
It's inductive.
Science.
It's based on looking at people and their life and, observing how praxeology, human interaction.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's it's not magically self-executing. You need to actually look at people.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, it's just been kind of observed that kids who don't get love, who don't have their very basic needs, like if you've ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, very basic is like food, shelter, warmth, cleanliness, health, things like that, nutrition, stuff with your body and like making sure your body's okay. But then there's like the mental, there's like empathy from your parents, stability, someone you can healthily attach to, like some adult who has it figured out that can lead you in the right way and that you can lean on them to support you and protect you. And part of empathy is like mirroring and just receiving, validation. There's a long list. I don't know.
No, those are great things. Exactly. No,
that stood out to me. And that's what I see in this world today, that, gosh, how many people, billions? China itself has billions,
I'm sure. Yeah.
Look around, look at the movies there are, look at reality shows. Everywhere you see dysfunctional communication. Everywhere you see
especially
judgmental communication. It reminds me, we watched Aquaman recently.
Oh,
the movie is beautiful. I mean, the effects are beautiful.
If we get an Aquaman, I'm going to go at it. Because Aquaman, it's a quintessential example, literally.
Let us know if we're going off rabbit trails.
It's okay. Happen. We can tie it into principles. So, but Aquaman, right? Because obviously, I like comics and stuff like that. But so, we watch the movie, and it's so clear that you see this dynamic, how there is incredible, beautiful artwork in the design of the film and the 3D animation and the actual set design.
But a girl who doesn't like tell you, "Hey, I'm married." To your bro.
Yeah.
You bro.
The communication is literally of infantile Like the way that the adults in the movie talk to each other is so, just
it is
commanding.
It's almost like watching kindergartners.
It's watching kindergartners. It is an insult to kindergartners. Seriously, kindergartners
are brilliant.
Talk better than that. I mean, it's crazy how poor the communication dialogue is, and it really exemplifies the devolution of people's intellect in terms of how they speak to each other and how they communicate their wants and needs. And then it's just to see that that dichotomy of beautiful, incredible art and then this absolutely simplistic dialogue is frustrating.
It's gonna make you wonder if it's intentional, to
it's intentional. I can tell you that.
In Aquaman, a lot of hidden meanings. There was one was like environmentalism,
right? Right, it's like radical environmentalism. You've been polluting our oceans. It's like, wow, so it's
okay for us to kill you,
right? These people are like, you've been polluting our oceans, but meanwhile, these people literally have this rule based on kingship, and they murder people and destroy people based on their power lust.
And what they're calling for also, what they're calling for also, which is also hidden, is collective punishment. It's like, how do you know that every single person, including 1-year-olds to 10-year-olds, who are the actual ones who are like, a 1-year-old, you're not gonna they're just like littering whatever, they don't even get it at that point. They're just like,
right, yeah. I mean,
but I'm just saying, like, this idea that it's okay to have collective punishment, to punish a group of people for the actions of not all of them. And there's no trial. It's just like, hey, I saw one human, for example, in this movie, throw trash in here. All humans must die.
Yeah, they're so bad.
And it's justified.
It's hilarious. And they make it seem too. I love this stuff because whenever I watch movies, that they're trying to push this narrative, and they just show these like phantasmic, cities with tons of development, advanced technology, and they just make it seem like it just came out of nowhere. It is the truest form of like this kind of egalitarianism.
They don't talk about if someone's printing money. They don't talk about if there's like high property taxes or regulations on business.
How did this even come to be in the first place?
Like,
in a waste product, like it is truly insane. And actually, let's tie this in if you don't mind to Lil Dicky's latest video that you saw, right?
Like, no.
There's this video by
the Earth.
I don't even know. It's some video by Lil Dicky.
I love the Earth.
Right, and him, and it's like a bunch of celebrities, and Leonardo DiCaprio is a part of it. And it's just like this idea of we love the earth. Oh, everything is all like hippy dippy.
It's like we love the earth.
And there's what I hate about it.
There's a lot of symbolism,
right,
to get you to subconsciously agree with them with no arguments.
Right, no arguments, no understanding about how.
Here's a catchy song. Here's some beautiful. Here's Ariana Grande.
Right.
Hey, she's pretty, right? She's got a great voice.
Like how everything is somehow magical and perfect if you live within nature and you have no industrialization. You know what I mean? Like just somehow that's perfect and magical.
Or what's the name of for Black Panther, the city where they're like secluded from the whole world, but it's because of this single natural resource.
Wait, with vibranium and Wakanda, you're saying Black Panther, but yeah.
Wakanda. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, exactly. And again, I don't have a problem with this in terms of like the sci-fi realm of it. I don't care. Like again, comic books, Harry Potter, any type of like magical mystical thing, I don't really care. Like that's fine. You can build that in for whatever you want. But when there's an intentional manipulation and a propaganda being added to the story to make it seem like as if things just magically come to be,
it just kind of shows. I mean, did the people writing it even think about it?
Right.
It more just probably reflects on the writers, whether either it's intentional or the writers are really ignorant of that stuff themselves. So it's easy to just imagine, a world that's abundant, but not think about how worlds like that are created, how prosperity is created, just think some mystical thing like, there's government is only funded by people.
Right.
Government creates prosperity.
These people think that just the idea itself is what creates prosperity.
Break that down.
Exactly.
When people don't do that. They just think of it in the abstract. Government.
Right.
Government. This nice entity.
You have government, and then step 2, prosperity just starts pouring out of the ground. Just finished products just start rising up. And, like people just suddenly have knowledge, and it's just absolute insanity.
I see Adrian, top fan. Thank you, Adrian. And also Patreon. You're awesome. Also one of the few but good ANCAP rappers.
True. That is true. I'll give you that.
So Adrian said, I'll be buying physical copies soon and want them signed. We can sign trade. I'll sign CDs for y'all. Okay.
We're interested. We'll make it work.
I pre-ordered, by the way, your EP on Amazon. So
yes, Fatty Garcia P.
Which, by the way, so to spell it, it's your stage name is Fatty.
PH.
Fatty Garcia. I don't know if it's because you're saying you're fat, but also cool. Maybe both. No, I'm just kidding. It's like fat. Anyway, but it's FPHAT.
Right. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Garcia.
Yeah, exactly. So tie it back. Principle.
And
this is why principles matter.
On one song, that's all I want to say. It's on Mental Cleanse. Okay.
Oh my goodness. So this is why, again, principles matter. Because again, without understanding principles, economics and ethics and things like that, people just suddenly start imagining. Yeah, I know. People
are like, am I the only sane one in the room?
Right. You start to think that and
I love that joke.
It's happening because, and I've seen this firsthand because I also own a tutoring company and work with young people still. There is a very specific and direct manipulation of young people to make them think that they're smart, like literally to make you think, oh, I am just brilliant, because they regurgitate what's given to them. And that's the scariest thing that could possibly ever happen, is this idea that young people in this next generation coming up, especially, are being filled up with this false pride that because they regurgitate things, they're somehow smart now because they regurgitate. And that's how come in the public schools today, there's been this huge movement for radical environmentalism. Again, I like a clean environment. I like breathable air. I like, not having trash everywhere. I'm all about that. But there's a big difference between that.
They're memorizing the talking points.
Right. They can memorize the talking points.
Being taught critical thinking.
Right.
And organically being like, you know what, I agree with you.
Exactly.
No, it's propaganda. It's through indoctrination. Public school is the first kind of entry into state indoctrination. Is, they get them young in kindergarten. It wasn't always kindergarten. It just got younger and younger.
And they push it on these because I work with kids and they have AP, environmental, and there's whole chapters on how there's climate change. It's catastrophic, anthropomorphic. It's going to happen. We're going to die. And it's like, whoa. And I'm like, I asked the kids that I work with, like, so how do you know this is going to happen? And they're like, well,
squeaking, by the way.
I'm sorry for the squeaks. They're like, because, I was good at this in middle school and I totally know about this. I'm like, well, what about, I'll talk about anything because I'm a little bit more informed than, most of the high schoolers in it. So you can really hear the squeak. Sorry for my squeaks. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Okay. So, you know what I mean? Well, I'll talk to them about like, okay, what are the different types of, common gas in the atmosphere? What's the hyperbolic equation that, is supposed to represent, warming and the greenhouse effect with CO2. I'll talk about ice core measurements and, what they do to try to measure CO2 levels in the atmosphere and things like that. And these kids have no idea what I'm talking about. Like literally, they think they know what they're talking about and they can't even talk about the math and the science. But this is happening on such a high level because all these kids are just regurgitating and they're getting A's and B's for regurgitating. Then they go to college and do the same thing. And of course, they need remedial English anyway. Like, I can't speak.
Really,
they repeat it again.
Did you agree with the teacher?
Right.
Give me the answer that I expected.
Exactly.
Like, it's either right or it's wrong. And then you get a stamp and then there's this like cycle of reward.
Right.
Threat of punishment, reward, threat of punishment. And then it's almost like addiction, really.
It is. You become addicted to just getting A's. And by the time they actually get to some level.
I was addicted to getting A's. I'm still working on.
I mean, it's because you're Asian, obviously. A for Asian, so.
That's one reason.
Oh, there goes Article 13 again. We're done. All right. Sorry, you two.
Or it's like, no, now banned in Canada.
Now banned in Canada.
Can't make jokes about, racial stereotypes.
Australia gone, Canada gone, New Zealand, forget about it.
China gone.
Yeah. No, all the PC. Yeah, it's like. So
it's crazy out there. Guys.
It is crazy. It's crazy how much.
You guys who are watching are on the forefront of, just trying to fight against this wave of tyranny that's been ongoing throughout human history.
It has. But, it's just hitting a new level. I don't think people really realize how bad it is. A lot of people think like, oh, it's the same old, same old. And yes, the state isn't the same old, same old. The control mechanisms
are more
not.
sophisticated.
They are a much higher level, and the apparatus for what even like the Chinese social credit system,
that's unprecedented.
Right.
To be able to monitor like pretty much all citizens and have this automatic thing, limit overhead of human beings, like just have a machine do it, set it up once, maintain the servers or whatever, and the
people in the Soviet Union wish they could have what the Chinese government has in terms of implementing their the firewall and the social credit system. I mean, literally, it's programmed in their phones. Like you can't get a phone in China legally that doesn't have the social credit system built in. I mean, and that apparatus is already readied in UK, US, European countries.
Right.
Hasn't been implemented yet, but in terms of the actual practical infrastructure, it's all there. And if we don't work to fight that, it's going to be the worst mix of 1984 and Brave New World combined. Like it's going to be
bad. Yeah. On the note of applying principles, okay.
On the note, yes, somehow we'll get back there.
Also, another way too is like you could see, somebody becoming a police officer, working for the state in some capacity, being a governor or whatever, senator, and they go in maybe at first with really good intentions. You know what I mean? Like they really just like I had a struggle in my own childhood. Maybe my parents were immigrants or my dad owned a business. I saw how this or that like affected, you'll have your own things coming into it. But it can be easy to be like, you want to compromise because the pressure of being in politics or some pressure from something else, like wanting maybe something to change, but the people you're dealing with will only pass something in your mind that's compromise, not the full principled thing that you want. And I think it's
it's what
you can really hear it.
I bet
it's funny.
It's ASMR for sake pouring.
Right. Oh, we should just do a live ASMR sake.
Sweet Lord, let's not go there. All right.
Right. This is the mic to do it.
It is.
I was going on a tangent.
You were. What's the point? It's politicians.
Okay, back to applying principles. That was the point. But like I was just giving examples of how people may feel pressured and want to just be like, you know what, I'll just let go of principles in this case because it's just the best thing that I can do or whatever. Like, they'll say this is where I choose pragmatism over principles. But for me, the way I've thought about it, and I myself have kind of like struggled with that thought per se, I've just kind of thought like, well, at the end of the day, what do I want to stand for? And it's also eventually it's going to come to a head. It's going to there's some line, that someone will cross. And for every individual is different, right? Whatever their issues are. Maybe for some, it's like, okay, you ban all semi-automatic weapons at one point, that's the end of the straw, or whatever. But a lot of people have their own, like, okay, I can let this freedom go because
scarily.
The idea of taking the state head on, with their monopoly on force that they got from stealing all of you, it's daunting. And that was one of the other reasons. Like some people will be like, you know what, screw it, I want to follow a leader, I want to MAGA, that's or I want to stare into the abyss, the clown thing.
I want to honk away.
I want to honk
my last honk.
Right, and I'm going to bring down Yang Gang. I'm going to spend my energy and make memes for Yang and potentially get him elected. Like just as a doing the opposite of what you intended.
Right.
It's possible. And, to just not do that and to find solace in the fact that, hey, at least you tried. You know what I mean? And at least that's how I think of it, that I've been trying to process this and think of, well, what is my line? Someone asked earlier about Julian Assange. That's kind of, I've been thinking about it for the past couple of weeks, just more, in the forefront of my mind, because with Julian Assange, it's like, wow, you have a situation here where he didn't do anything. He's not a U.S. citizen. He wasn't the one who was physically there at the computers. He just published information.
I mean, that's a good point. Someone asked, like, what are you going to do?
They want to kill him. They want to execute him.
And that's
to hear that's when I was like, wow, what does that mean? And if that happened, like, just imagine what the world would be like if that happened, like, how could we go on to live?
Yeah,
but at the same time,
it's one of those things.
Governments have been doing things all around the world for centuries, and
it's like what we watched with the North Koreans, the defectors, right? We saw that video. There's North Korean defectors.
Yeah,
and they're
interviewed on Asian bots.
Yeah, an Asian bot. They're so broken that they can't even handle it. They have to laugh at the horrors they saw with people having public executions.
Right, like while they're
just
talking
blowing
about
people's
the
heads off.
Details.
Right, they're talking about the gruesome details and they laugh because
they
can't even process it because the life in North Korea was so brutal and oppressive.
Yeah. It's a good documentary.
But it makes you wonder, like, what is that straw? Like, at what point do you 1776? And I don't want that. That's why, like, it's like what you can do. It's like, for me, my goal is I want to try to educate as many people as possible so that hopefully through education, shared knowledge on, peaceful parenting, novel education, voluntarism, something could be built elsewhere. You know what I mean? My hope is an exit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For me, that, an exit would be ideal because
right.
I don't see the US going anywhere but under the typical history of empires of collapsing, considering the nature of how much everything is controlled at the federal level for that end.
Right.
So really, it is an exit. You know what I mean? I think the people who are on the libertarian to voluntarist ANCAP bent, maybe some paleo conservatives, maybe, I don't know. But, those people are going to have to pool their resources eventually and say enough is enough and say we're going to do something new somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because
that's what people are trying to do with Liberland. But
right.
You see that struggle. It's been 5-6 years now that they, President Jedlicka declared that this is Liberland. And they still can't go in there.
Right. There's still struggles. And like even remember that couple just posted about with, they've tried
in Thailand,
built a home seastead
offshore
12 nautical miles
waters.
Out. Government's still like, we're going to shut you down. And some people are like,
well. And in fact, we're going to execute you if
you
like pay us or something. Or
no, they were just going to kill them. They're just saying, what you're doing is undermining our government and the Constitution. And under that clause, we can just kill you. I mean, this is the absolute sickness of statism is that these people are literally murderers,
and the distortion of property rights.
Right. I mean, nobody was living in that area. Nobody was 12 nautical miles out. Like, I'm in the sea. Somebody's like, well, maybe a ship would hit him. It's like, dude, like
a ship would hit anything. They were way out there.
Yeah. It's a very good example that of the fact that statism is truly a type of psychological virus. It is a form of, in my opinion, a mental disorder. It is something that causes people to rationalize or accept very evil acts of violence against people for things that they're doing that are not violating anybody else's body or property.
Like Julian Assange.
Or
Kimberly. We know Kimberly. Hey, Kimberly. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Friday. She said J.A. is a hero, which I'm pretty sure she means Julian Assange.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's crazy to think that in this day and age of information being so accessible and cheap, that someone thinks that the government should have secrets. I mean, it's just absolutely insane because, again, if you think the government should have secrets, then you want to be ruled in ignorance. I mean, there's no way around that, right? If the government has secrets, then you're like, I'm a citizen, I can vote, but you have no idea what's going on, right? Like the government officials could be lying about what they're doing. They could be murdering and stealing and torturing, which is just true.
Right.
And you have no idea. And you're like, I'm going to vote for this guy. He sounds nice. And they're like, let's keep on torturing people. Let's keep on stealing people's money. And let's keep on selling off the U.S., in debt to central banks. Like,
right. It's logical, too, if people would just apply what they already notice about, the human condition, that for whatever reason, there are some people who are okay with violence,
Oh, certainly. There's some people who...
They say that's why we need a state, but they don't realize they're abstracting the state and being like, and not realizing it's made of people who are prone to violence.
Right.
And giving them ultimate power over them. So...
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I mean, and that's what it boils down to. I mean, a lot of how statism is bred is of course, noted before, fear. And a manipulation of people, basically, you know, trying to get their buy-in that thieves and murderers are suddenly not thieves and murderers because they are.
And that they're not prone to the same corruption they say is
right. You're like magically an angel when you get into government somehow.
Right. But they will preach all day about how, you know, businesses can be corrupt or whatever. Yes, true. But when you have the state, you have no recourse, you know, the crimes of the state.
Well, right. Ultimately, because of sovereign immunity, there is always a line between sovereign immunity and national security privilege. The government can always absolve itself from any type of wrongdoing whatsoever and say, oh, no, you can't sue us. Oh, no claims here. Oh, no, sorry, that's classified.
They run the courts. Why would they,
right.
you know, persecute themselves in their own courts that they have ultimate power over?
Right. Yeah. When people realize that
should
fact,
be obvious.
That's the thing.
But that's what we're trying to do is help just break that down and demystify. Because, you know, I say it now that, you know, it's should be obvious. It's just obvious to me now, but it wasn't obvious to me before. And most people, it's not, because if you had a whole child of indoctrination, that's like your worldview. You know, you knew no alternative. And also, depending how old you are, your brain's almost fully formed, or those habits of thinking are so strong in you, which is why you'll see, you know, but what about the roads? Like as an immediate, like fear reaction. It's because of those, you know, constant ways of thinking and being exposed.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where you can only really, in a principled way, the only way you can analyze it properly is by doing a robust compared to what? Because a lot of people say, oh, look, stability, prosperity, blah, blah, blah. And that really starts to dissipate when you actually look at what the government does in terms of taking people's resources and their property and selling it off to central banks in debt and bombing people across the world and slowly eroding your rights. And you're like, wait a second. Like,
while they sit in their mansions.
Right. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like Bernie, you know, as much as people make fun of him for being like, you know, for the way he talks, or just like reminding like a senile grandpa. That's my personal one. He's rich. He's living large. He's like, I have 3 houses or whatever. He's a millionaire and he's living comfortable, and he can preach all day about how other people should have their money taken from them by force, how people should be disarmed or, you know, not able to defend themselves how they see fit. And he's affected by none of it. If any of his policies went into fruition, he'd be fine. You know, and that's what a lot of the lawmakers, legislators, you know, politicians or whatever, the rulers have. They have that comfort to just literally ruin other people's lives. Like Obamacare, for example. Obamacare walked away from being president, a millionaire, right?
Did you say Obamacare?
I'm sorry, Obama left.
Okay, I was like, what?
Obama left the presidency. No, but like,
okay,
I mix words.
You getting lit?
I am. I'm getting tired.
So lit and tired.
It's been a long week.
It has been a long week.
Thanks for being with us. 17, 18 people, 34.
Let's say nothing to the last. I don't know. We ain't going that long. We ain't going that long. But
no.
I got stuff to do. But yeah. But yeah, no, Obamacare. Obamacare. Now I'm saying Obamacare.
Obama left off a millionaire. All the
of course, yeah.
He affected all the people who's a lot. Yeah, they enriched themselves.
Of course.
At the expense of others, and that's what government is.
Right.
Government is enriching themselves or certain people that they pick. Government picking winners and losers.
Right.
At the expense of others.
Right, and that's a good point also to remember, is that when it comes to government and their installation from market forces, a lot of people are like, well, what about bad businesses and stuff like that? And like, what if they do something scrupulous that involves violence? And some commies would be like Coca-Cola and like shooting up people in Colombia or something. Like, that's a state. You know what I mean? Like, what a company and its leadership is trying to use violence against people to enforce a type of will. This is no longer a business or a company. This is just a state. And that's what a lot of people don't get, is that it's like your biggest concerns when it comes to the market is that another state's going to happen. Oh, wow. Okay. Whoop-de-doo. Your biggest concern is that another warlord, another government's going to come. Okay. Yeah. That's the whole point. We're trying to fight against the psychology.
The current warlord.
Right. That doesn't justify,
so like it does.
We should have McGovernment or, Coca-Cola. It's like, no, it's
that's a common
it's
attempt at a counter argument.
Right.
Is like the reason we shouldn't advocate for voluntary human interactions, and the reason we should justify having a warlord is because there's a potential another warlord might come up.
There might be another warlord.
So let's have a warlord now. And it's like, but you're guaranteeing a warlord.
Right.
I just want to have the chance of freedom.
Right.
So.
And yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where, again, obviously, these movements toward liberty don't just magically happen. It does require cultural change. It does require people evolving, but that's okay. It's like that's a bad thing. Oh, okay, people evolving and being more ethical. Okay,
that would happen in anarchist society anyway. You would, who knows? There may be ethical concepts I haven't even thought about yet, that others haven't even thought about or conceived yet.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? But the key is starting with actually just private property rights and respect of each individual's consent and body and property. Just start with that. Start there. And then if you can have these conversations and this reasonable discourse, fixed childhoods, you can talk about anything and, give people the opportunity to learn and grow and talk through ideas. But so.
Right. No, I mean, what you're saying is a bigger important point is that, this idea of voluntarism really is not really meant to be political at the forefront. It's not actually meant to be like, oh, this is about government in and of itself. It's actually about healing oneself and having healthier relationships with the people who you love.
Oh, I missed that. Sorry. What is voluntarism?
Yeah. Uh-huh. So it's not first and foremost about politics. Although, yes, of course, the memes are great for politics and stuff like that. But really, it's actually
politics is one of the applications.
Right. It's an outside application that's an end result. But again, it's the idea of these changes are meaningful for your present life. This is not some theoretical future of, Capistan or something which is, funny and all that stuff. But realistically, it actually has an immediate application to your life and your loved ones and how you treat people and how you get your needs met, and how you're able to communicate better with others and do so in a way that is rewarding and loving and builds an amazing relationship with, someone that you find attractive, or if you already have that, you have kids, building with them.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's really what matters more than anything, is that you're able to actually.
That's my number one goal. Actually,
right.
Have a philosopher, and you with your stuff. Your ultimate goal is you want people, and no more children as much as possible, to suffer from a lonely or abusive childhood.
Right.
Of a maddening, crazy, insane childhood.
Right. The political aspect is actually kind of just the end result of that manifestation.
If you fix the childhood,
right?
I believe
I do, and that's exactly right. That's exactly.
You have now a huge group of people who are like, wait a minute, my parents never beat me. They never told me to go sit in the corner and shame me and make me feel like I'm
without me, you're nothing.
Right. Or threaten me with beating me up because when you're a kid, this giant that's your parent is 4 times bigger than you, and they're way stronger, and it as a kid that they could beat the lights out of you. I'm making a metaphor, but literally they can do that. And as a kid, you learn, you either rebel or you quickly fall into line and just adapt. And imagine a world where kids aren't raised to just fall into line and obey authority blindly, which is a theme of most mainstream movies, most movies that are in theaters, for example. They have this acceptance, no one's talking about it, of mandatory authority, of kings, queens, of some
they have fake rebellions and I think that's exactly what you're saying is fake rebellions, whether it's Star Wars and the rebels are fighting the other side, with Darth Vader, stuff like that.
But they each have their own
governments, and there's no philosophy about that. Or Aquaman, it's Aquaman's fighting the bad guys who want to kill everybody. It's but then he wants to become king, and everybody's still ruled. There's still violence and bad communication. Exactly. It's this. I mean, this ties into the left-right paradigm. Right, it's a false life art contract. People keep people divided and fighting each other over superficial things, and not looking at the core philosophy, not looking at self-knowledge, not looking at how children are treated.
Too.
And keeping them ignorant,
keeping them habitual, keeping them addicted. Oh, that movie, We the Living. I think it's obey, consume,
We Live.
Is that a mix of Ayn Rand books?
It might be. But yes.
But you know what I'm talking about now.
Yes.
But
right.
Yeah, like in that movie, he like puts on the glasses and then he sees. Well, it's about aliens, literally. Like
spoiler alert. Article 13. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
It could be because obviously it's a big trope of memes and stuff, but some people might be like, "Oh, I was gonna see that, but now thanks to you." No. Yeah, I mean,
someone say it makes you crazy.
Yeah, Frank, exactly. They live. Yes, they live exactly.
Thanks.
Yeah, it is. They live really actually is what is. It is a great metaphor. Unfortunately, of course, the movie itself doesn't dive into philosophy, but it is a good superficial concept that there are people who are in power who, and specific names. You could look at the historical bloodlines of certain people, who have been in political power, whether it's like Rothschilds,
right?
Kennedys, Clintons, Bushes, whatever. Al Gore.
No, the Trumps, right?
I don't know. Trump might be in that. I don't know if he counts as the historical, but
or he could be starting it.
He could be. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, there's certain people, throughout history who, they're politically connected families. And again, this stems out of a very clear and obvious history. If you go research it, especially out of England, there are people who were kings, queens, nobles, and they had their ways of involving nepotism to continue their power, and that's exactly what it boils down to. Is they want to make sure that every generation is inculcated with the idea that their rule is ethical and right, and that whatever they say, in terms of thefts or whatever goes. I mean, and to me, it boggles my mind to even see on TV a celebration of Prince Harry, where I don't even care because I'm just like, whatever,
Queen Elizabeth.
You're right. Them getting married. I'm like, it's so crazy that this still exists. It really is. It's almost like watching slavery again. It's like,
they're all funded by taxpayers.
The government takes the money from you by force to fund their.
They have these ornate golden crowns and living, and people still rail against private businesses and owners for not paying their employees enough, but they don't rail against and rather worship these ornate showings of wealth that was purely gotten from stealing from others, whether it's from taxes or from ancient old bloodlines of being kings. And
that's the whole point is that no matter what, to create conflict, but to always have a Hegelian dialect about it, by creating the problem, offering a solution, and then bring their own synthesis in, which is, of course, that the state as a concept is legitimate, necessary, and ethical. And that there are some people who just are born with a right to rule. That's the ultimate psychology they're trying to imbue through media, through state propaganda and things like that. And, that's why we have this whole space age technology, Stone Age philosophy situation where people are doing things that are beyond imagination when it comes to, technological advancement, but they're still praising and living in the same things in terms of political psychology of hundreds and thousands of years ago. Because those in power, of course, want to do everything to enhance
and they pass on rituals to their offspring,
right?
And who knows what they actually say to their offspring? I can only imagine you're from a line of great people.
Yes, you must rule.
You must rule.
It's the movies and stuff. It's crazy. It really is crazy when you see that. And obviously to me, because I'm so into that psychology of seeing through that matrix. Watching any Disney movie, this or that, where they're praising kings, queens, princesses, to me is like watching a movie that's praising
most
slavery.
Of the Disney movies that I grew up with.
It's literally that
all
level.
The Disney princesses,
right?
Just because they're beautiful, they got the most handsome guy, and he rules over everybody, and that's what they do. They get to rule over everybody, but there's no discussion of, this prince, he's really virtuous, or so is she, or or why. No one consented to them ruling, and why everyone should just worship at their feet and bow down. Right. But that's just all that subconscious programming in those movies. Right. And for little kids like me included, growing up just thinking of this concept of I'm a princess. I want a prince. I
should be worshipped.
Yeah. I want people to bow down and worship me. I want my man to bow down and worship me. Right. Yep. And save me, and that's all the tropes and all the Disney princess movies I grew up with. that beautiful male striving to save the day.
And now the new scary thing, and I think this ties into what we were talking about before with school, is the egalitarianism, which again, if you're not familiar, egalitarianism is I don't know necessarily it's rooted in Marxism, but it's a Marxist concept of just like this idea that everybody is perfectible to be exactly equal and the same. And, that obviously is not going to be true. There's going to be people who have different talents, different bodies, different whatever. Like people are not all going to always be the same. It doesn't mean they shouldn't be respected as individuals.
Like for example, if we had an arm wrestle right now.
Right.
We can even demonstrate it, but you probably break my arm.
I don't want to break your arm.
My arm would be broken. No, I'm just kidding.
It would probably.
You're stronger than me, and that's a fact.
Right. Exactly. Like and they want it. The people now in the media, what they're trying to do is imbue this idea that everybody is equal in terms of raw, just absolute ability. That everybody is magically somehow just equal to each other, and where that is coming out the strongest. I mean, I think of the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse. We watched that movie, and we watched the after commentary with the producers and stuff. And they even said like our whole goal is to like have more equality, diversity, that anybody could do anything. It's like at first it sounds like it's a good thing, like inspiring people.
Right, it always sounds nice on the
surface. It sounds nice on the surface, right? Which is like a course.
Thinking,
right.
And you extract the principles from what they're saying and apply to other areas.
And fundamentally, there's a wide difference between everybody should be encouraged to be the best they can, and it doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, be the most.
Which I'm for.
Right, of course, absolutely. Like be the best person you can.
I want to encourage
work
people.
hard.
I want to empathize with them.
Grow your talents, absolutely. But what they're pushing forward. And this is what's crazy in the schools, and this might be new for some people here, a new level you don't necessarily get in a lot of analyses. Is that
if your kids are in public school, listen.
Yeah, especially is that they are trying to make it seem that just magically that if you have feelings or belief, you could be anything you want to be in terms of just the thought. In other words, it's not about action or practice or hard work, work ethic, self-discipline. It's just hey, I just suddenly can just do whatever and magically I'm as competent as anybody else, right? It's this idea. And what that does, it brings in this idea of entitlement, right? First and foremost, it brings this idea of just like, okay, I deserve what everybody else has, even though you haven't worked hard, trained, studied, built up your skills. Right. Like it's this idea of just, I just automatically deserve things just because I'm here.
Like
right?
The wage gap.
But then, I mean, I don't want to get into that right now because this is just a whole different train of thought. But we could return.
I thought it was related, but
okay. It could. Not, I mean, it's a little bit. It's a little bit different, but basically, it's this idea that everybody is just entitled to being equal to everybody else just by fiat. And that was like the idea with Into the Spider-Verse is just like, okay, suddenly like he just magically, the main character, like has all the skills and the training, to be Spider-Man, even though right. So there's a spoiler. There we go. Article 13 gone. But you know what I mean? Instead of having training, instead of like working hard at something, you know what I mean? It just magically happens, right? And at first it seems like it's benign sci-fi, right? And normally I'd be like, whatever, it's benign sci-fi. But these people who are creating this are intentionally trying to imbue this idea that just through sheer belief, you are now worthy of being rewarded, just through sheer existence or belief that you're entitled to be rewarded. And how does this play out in the public school?
Other people's labor and time
and respect and support. Yeah. So how does this tie into public school? In public school, what's happening is and you're going to see the effects of this, is that all the kids are being raised in this idea of just like everything they want to think about themselves is just, fickle. It can just be projected on their life. And they are deserving just because they regurgitate information to be like, oh, see, I'm credible. I can regurgitate information from whoever and see, look, I deserve to be in these positions. And what you're going to see is there's tons of these young people who literally are, sorry, it's just what it is. They're not very bright.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They could become bright. They could work on it, but they're not there because they're being dumbed down intentionally. And they are being rewarded for following orders, and they're going to go through up to college and do the same cycle. They're going to go through their master's degree, do the same cycle. They're not very bright intellectually, They don't have great critical reasoning skills, but they've regurgitated so much, and they're going to come out as these people saying, "Oh, I have a bachelor's degree,"
and they receive positive reinforcement for the behaviors of obeying authority.
Exactly, and they're going to come out with their bachelor's degree. They're going to come out with their master's.
They're going to have more friends, right? Just by sheer numbers, they'll have more people accepting them.
They might, you're right, through the scholastic process.
They'll have teachers who are more praising them.
Right, so they're going to come out with their bachelor's degree. They're coming with their master's degree, and they're going to be like, "See, I'm an authority on this topic," and they're going to be dumb. I have a master's. Right, and they're going to be dumber than rocks because all they know how to do is how to have regurgitated what it is that was fed to them, and that's what has happened their whole lives. They have not had any meaningful critical thinking skills built. They have no meaningful analysis of diverse sources. They have no method of even really exploring what they do know versus what they don't know for real. So that this whole egalitarianism concept is going to rise to a head, where you're going to have this technocratic elite of people who, have this auspice of authority, and they're like, "See, I have this degree, a bachelor's or master's, something like that," but they're literally dumb. Yeah. They literally just regurgitated their whole lives. They have no idea how to discern truth from falsehood. They have no idea how to apply deductive and inductive reasoning. Though,
some of them, like if you don't have critical thinking, but you, for whatever it is, genetically or whatever, just have faster cognitive function or something, they will be sophisticated in that their argumentation can be sophistic, like sound like it's reasonable, but it's actually not, and it's fallacious.
Right. That's a separate topic of like thinking about people who may be have a higher intelligence, but if you have a factually false foundation, then all you're doing is applying your intelligence to orchestrate and come up with a theory or a thesis that is completely false, because it doesn't matter how smart you are. You can come up with elaborate falsehood. It's not like they're all
stupid. Everyone who's been through schooling, like it's not like.
Oh, I didn't say that they were all stupid. I'm just saying, by and large, there's going to be this glut of people who are going to be pushed into the mainstream that, because they just followed orders the whole way through, they're going to be parroted as the new experts, right? They're going to be these people who have bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, who are going to be seen as, "Oh, see, look, they have a bachelor of science and biology. They're going to have bachelor of science and or master's in immunology," but they literally have no idea how to critically think, because all they've been doing is just repeating what other people have done and said. They have no way of like thinking about, okay, well, how did this get known? How, what kind of, factors or variables could have influenced this, and, have a mistake, and so on and so forth.
It makes sense, because that's how they got good grades.
Right. I mean, that's what is getting a good grade in school. Okay. Giving the teacher exactly what they want, not causing any trouble for them. Your class participation grade, your class grade.
There may be a rare teacher in there, but when it comes to like public schools, mostly these are teachers or professors who have regurgitated the information themselves, didn't learn critical thinking. So they expect their students to regurgitate all the same and obey their authority. Maybe here and there you'll get like, Walter Block at a university or something.
Like Bruce Benson or someone. I mean, sometimes, but it's just more rare. But it is very rare that any student in school is going to get a meaningful education in critical thinking skills, because the nature of how it's structured is not built around critical thinking skills. It's built around purely just input, output, regurgitation. And, that's the design. It's not like this is like,
Might I add, this wasn't like always the case with schools in the U.S. Like schools, colleges in the U.S.
Yeah.
Didn't they used to be more like there weren't student loans, like people had to
that's
pay.
Separate from the concept of the structure of compulsory schooling. Because remember, the compulsory schooling model came from the Prussian model, which was built to get soldiers to be completely obedient in battle, because there was a problem of soldiers who would run because they didn't want to die. So they had to have a cradle to grave, basically indoctrination process
of those who would die, for soldiers who would die.
Right. So the compulsory schooling model, yes. I mean, obviously there's different types of Socratic models and this or that with like higher academia, whatever. But by and large, when you think about compulsory schooling, it's definitely an intentionally structured design, from the 1800s onward, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to use the bathroom.
Yeah? You want to hold it up?
Well, this was fun.
Gosh, or do you want to cut it here? Because we've been here for a while.
We've been here for an hour and 38. How's everyone doing? We talk so much.
I don't even know.
As Zach said, I apologize for my Prussian heritage. Oh no, there's a collective guilt. No need, Zach.
Someone talked about guns and stuff about.
Do you want to spend the last minute just kind of looking through? Maybe
I mean, let me see. I'm just looking. Someone talking about John Lott, just gun stuff, but we're covering that for another time. But yeah, principle. This is why.
Maybe we have closing thoughts. We call it
Joseph Cameron says here, a lot of the liberal arts colleges where the protests, have taken place. I mean, that's true too. The liberal arts college, of course, where you get a lot of these people who are the SJWs, because again, these are people who.
He said they're private.
Oh no, of course, in private as well, because again, they're all modeled on the same concepts. They're, private or public, these schools are still modeled in the same Prussian model. It's it's in the same form and function. So this
Don't
is
they also get funding indirectly through student loans?
Well, that's a separate issue, but yes, of course, the government's grant and student loan program, of course, incentivizes people to take on loans for degrees that literally have no market demand. Right.
It's the crony education system.
It's right. It definitely exacerbates that problem that these people are like, oh, I'm going to get women in feminist dance studies or whatever majors that literally has no meaningful market value.
Is that really
okay.
Feminist dance studies?
There probably is. I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff out there, but it's one of those things that with the government's backing it, everybody goes to college no matter what the degree is. There's no evaluation of, is that market demanded or this or that. So, so this is interesting. Now we're going to get the whole topic, but it's is the right to force gene editing on babies unstoppable? I mean, I personally have a problem with gene editing on babies. Again, the court.
What? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
My immediate thought was gene editing. Would it be considered forcibly gene editing by being stressed while you're pregnant?
I mean, that is technically
it's not
true.
A direct manipulation of the genes, but you can activate or deactivate certain genes just from the environment and stimuli. So being really stressed, is that also gene?
Anything can be a mutagen. Anything injected in the body. Anything you eat and stuff like that. And in utero, mutagens, things that mutate. The ATCG, the coding of the DNA. Could change that, of course. So it's kind of funny, actually, when you put it in that way. That's actually
foods you eat.
That's a great response, actually.
Or chemicals you touch, you clean. I
don't know if you intentionally did that, but you did it. You did what? You provide the compared to what, right? You're gene editing, but it's wait, compared to what? Okay, well, literally your lifestyle and your food gene edits, because how you eat and what you do during pregnancy literally affects the biological development of a child in the womb. So it's you are gene editing no matter what. Yeah. You're gene editing depending on what you eat and what you do with your body.
What medicines you take.
Right.
What if
you're just not as consciously exact with it, but you are definitely.
Or intentional per se.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, the question you're asking, there's this implied assertion that, right to force gene editing. I mean, that's implying that that's bad per se. So that's what I'm addressing. It's I don't think gene editing of a baby is bad per se. There are certain gray areas where, the non-aggression principle is not going to be so crystal clear on. But as long as you have the foundation of the NAP, things like gene editing or touchy topic abortion or age of abortion, how late is too late, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you got aborted 100.
Just some arbitrary. All I know is the government shouldn't legislate. Basically, a single group of people shouldn't enforce what their idea is on everyone else. Because what if they're wrong? And as we've seen, there are cases where so many cases where the government's wrong, and then people just suffer for that. So in these cases, this is where you have the free market of ideas. You have people who respect each other's bodies and property and allow discourse to happen. And then you have these talks about, okay, let's come up with, a code of ethics when it comes to abortion. And it will just kind of happen naturally through social norms and spreading of social norms and people talking, people maybe shunning somebody else or this or that, or they talk about it. It just happens organically, and it already has with a lot of things.
Right.
Yeah.
And again,
professionalism
it ties
in the
to principles,
workplace.
right? The compared to what?
I had an example. Sorry.
Okay.
Professionalism in the workplace. to my knowledge, it wasn't like government's like, here's the regulation on professionalism. Like that came up through social norms, just like what became more popular. And there were stages of certain sayings being more popular. But like certain things about being professional is like listening, empathy, being, direct and honest or whatever, being specific about what you want. A lot of that, funnily enough, ties into nonviolent communication.
Right.
But like this just kind of rose like organically.
Right
NBC, I want pizza.
NBC, I could really use a pizza right now. Not gonna lie.
Every time you have sake.
Sake is like an immediate, like, sled ride to Pizza Town. Like,
maybe we can
cool
be
runnings,
right? Pizzas.
Cool runnings to Pizza Town, right there.
Wouldn't that be cool? Just be indoors to eat pizza.
I would love that.
New York. Pizza.
We should do that.
Any New York pizza company?
Yeah, I gotta ship that from New York.
But yeah, I forgot what I was saying. I feel a little hungry. You're right. Pizza
I feel hungry
sounds
too.
good.
Oh my gosh, pizza.
I still haven't gone to the bathroom.
You still haven't. That's true. I'm glad you haven't gone to the bathroom here because that'd be very problematic.
Someone like that. Someone like put a like when you're like
peeing that violation.
Is it though? But it's my property.
You're gonna do a stream midstream? I don't even know.
Wow. Good. Okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I can't.
Oh goodness.
Well, anyway, when I come back, we'll do closing.
Yeah, we'll do closing when you're back.
On the topic.
I'm just here alone. Great. Now I'm on the philosopher alone. Not the philosopher. I am the person who does other things like, other pages. Anarchy Ball, voluntarist. Honest teacher. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess we got to just hang here and until she... And there says, help manage a Facebook page. That's awesome. Yeah, obviously, you've seen... Most people here, I would imagine, have seen something that they've made between, Anarchy Ball and voluntarist, honest teacher, and free market memes, and consult on a number of things.
You guys are looking at a true warrior.
All right, so you're back.
So
yeah, I know. I kid you not. I started the taxation of theft trend too.
Thank you for your service.
I can prove that too if anybody wants to see. But
you're a meme veteran.
I am a meme. I did survive the meme
still
war.
A soldier
I am. I still make memes. I still make memes for everybody here.
So thank you for your service.
My pleasure. Meme dealer all day, every day. All day.
I laugh, but I actually mean it. Just kind of like when I say thank you for your service. We like to do that when we go out to eat and stuff. We're just like, thank you for your service to the waitress or waiter, and they're just they're like, oh, you're welcome. Like because like people don't really hear it in that context, but it's like technically it's true. Thank you for your service. So yeah. What did I miss? How was it?
I just said about principles, why they're important. Talked about just really quick, all the things I do besides this stuff. Obviously, being a part of those meme war trenches and stuff.
Yeah. I want to ask for customer sentiment. How is the audience doing? Did you guys like this first live stream? This first session of Phorensics with Jack and Pho?
Yeah, numbers dwindling here, but we got still about 36 strong.
That's cool.
35 strong. But
hey, Mark Cage. He said, "Hey, where's the hey behind everyone? Hey,
yeah, coffee run. I don't know,
Mark,
coffee or pizza. I'm still thinking that pizza is going to be fire."
Thank you, Mark, for liking my page for forever.
Yeah,
he was one of the first supporters. When I was a small page.
Wow,
1,000, 2,000. Yeah. Some funny conversations.
I can imagine.
Tired, huh? You're reaching.
I mean, yeah.
It's been a long week.
I make a lot of memes. I wrote a lot of articles. I wrote 4 articles in the past day. So I literally, yeah.
What are your thoughts on this live stream?
Oh, I had a great time.
What do you think of the first session of Phorensics? You liked it?
That's pretty good. I guess maybe we'll do. Yeah, we'll definitely do it again. Just I don't even know. Wait, is that a mute button or is it?
No, it should be going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we need OBS Studio or whatever, but
yeah, that's probably the next evolution. Make it, have a ticker the Muddy Waters of Freedom.
I know they do such a good show.
Such a good
he's
job.
So good, man.
I don't know if it's Spike or if
Spike does a good. Yeah, he does a good job.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's the one doing it.
Maybe we should just get them to come over and we do a foursome. Not what you're thinking, folks. No. I'm saying
in the libertarian movement.
Yeah, kind of like punk rock libertarians does. They do a pretty good one here and there. But ours would be way more principled than punk rock libertarians, even more so.
Oh, really? We're
true volunteers. We are voluntarists through and through.
Podcast, so I don't know the compared to.
I mean, they have some good people there too, but we here are, when it comes to principles, it's principles all day, every day. No excuses. No, the government should steal for this thing.
All right. Someone said Anarchy Ball is cool. Yes, but they need to make more ball comics.
You're right. I'm angry. Ball. Okay, so real stuff. I made ball comics in the past. I haven't been making as much lately because I've been focused on the other pages. But Ross the Monkey, he's taking it up all the time, and I'm just like, I don't even know. Ross the Monkey's always. I think I'm just gonna post Anarchy Ball comics now to just free market memes and just. So go to free market memes, and I'll make some ball comics for you.
They were like
some OG.
They were the voluntarist or capitalist or anarchist version of what was it? Stephen and Clyde. The comic. Oh no.
Oh, Cyanide and Happiness. Stephen and Clyde. What? That's like someone's name is Stephen and Clyde. That's hilarious.
Stephen Clyde, if you're watching.
Oh my goodness. I hope. Yeah, he's gonna.
Oh.
He's gonna like what? Yeah. But yeah, we have time.
Yeah, Stephen and
I got so many balls, it's ridiculous. I got all the balls you can imagine.
Oh my god.
All the OG. I don't like.
That's what the Anarchy Ball comics were. They were like really funny short comics, but then you're like,
I still made them here and there. I got into doing other memes and I just left doing balls.
Yeah.
But I have the balls and I can still do more balls. I just I should do some more balls. I'll give you all some balls.
Someone said, "Okay, guys, coffee run by for you both." I hear you. I feel it.
We do have espresso.
Maybe they see the energy draining. Someone says
hard.
It was awesome. Someone said, "Say yes, please."
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
No, yes, please.
They put an L though. Hey, I read it how you spell it.
Can you do the original yes, please?
And then the next one, for your information, is it's yes, please.
No fan service.
Oh yeah.
No yes.
He's responding to the other guy. He's like, "It's yes, please." Yeah. Yes.
Can you give an authentic yes, please here?
Okay, we're gonna record. No. Oh, it is recording.
It is recording.
Okay, this is gonna be the new one. Ready?
I'm ready.
Yes, please.
Oh gosh.
I had a laugh at the end. I can't use it. Oh no, the table shook. So the Facebook video.
Joseph said, "Would you publish a collection of the ball comics?" I could.
That's okay. Just put an album. Just put an album on
the thing. I have some that were my own, but I get
por favor.
Anarchy Ball, literally, I can tell you this, because I was there from almost the virtual beginning. It's gone through many different moderators and stuff like that, and I would say that some of the core ones are still there. Just me and a couple there who are the core originals. But I think
you could host it on Philosophy.
It could be. We could post it on free market memes or something like that.
Yeah, free market memes. That's a good place. Mm-hmm.
It's hard, man. It's hard.
The Anarchy Ball page.
Trying to produce so many things, for philosopher, for, school stuff, honest teacher, for free market memes, for comic stuff, and everything else.
How does it make you feel? It's a lot.
It's a lot. Producing for people like David Feedback.
It turns into an interview.
Right. It can be very taxing. It's.
Yes.
It's making memes, helping people, because I mean, at the end of the day, like, my goal is to help other people be successful for liberty and stuff like that too. So I try to help whatever I can, but
it is taxing.
It can be.
Well, how you want to end this?
I want to end it just thank you everybody who stayed with us for the lengthy part of this. I mean, this is not the last was 3 hours, 20 minutes. That's nuts.
Thank you for
this is almost 2 hours. Thank you. Yeah. All you who did the super chats. Thank you for supporting the comic. That really
thank you from people from literally around the world. I saw people say hi from Brazil.
Yeah. Brazil. I love Brazilians right now more than ever are loving liberty. Like, people are like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, America's liberty. Like, dude, there's more Brazilians right now who are more serious about liberty than your average American right now. Like, Brazil's going through a liberty wave. It's amazing. Like, if you ignore what's going on around the world,
they experience like the pain of their socialist
right
policies.
And America's about to feel that hard, so I'm just getting ready for that.
It's like
I got my ARs ready.
There you see the cycles of civilization rising up, going down, and what is it usually destroyed by? Governments. Salute.
Yeah.
Someone Brian gave us 5. Thank you so much, Brian, for the super chat. That's really kind of you.
Thank you. And again, everybody here, if you're watching, you're here. You're a part of the resistance and the people who are going to be building the future. You know what I mean? If you're here, you're at least privy to the fact that things are not right, that things are unethically happening. as relates to government and, the world. And we're going to be working to build that
and you're
new
helping
place.
like the people who, like, there are many ways to help, whether you're specifically going out there trying to change strangers' minds, like being an activist, whether you're just living your best life.
Living best life.
That's a song. But
we're gonna be all of us are gonna be exiting. I tell you that right now. Everybody here, I guarantee it, we're gonna be fleeing some serious, crazy government martial law stuff. I mean, it's not that I don't want that, of course. I really wish there was a way to change things like in the US to make it not go that way, but it doesn't matter. Like people are like, oh, immigrants, like no, dude. The second that 1913 central banking system came into play, that was the real nail in the coffin. You know what I mean? That was the real nail in the coffin.
That's how you could have endless wars.
Yeah.
How you could fund
literally, yeah.
Because you're just reallocating wealth to your purposes of war.
Right. It was always going to be basically a pilfering of American people until, collapse. So, yeah, it's kind of nasty, but obviously those of us here are working.
Hashtag resistance.
We are. We're the people who are going to build the future. We're the
Everyone
people.
knows Zach Lukowski.
Yeah, I know, right? He's on every.
Our three producers. Yeah, they just.
Thank you, Matthew.
They know they're as known as much as philosophers just from being
right. Matthew gave us a
wow!
Favor, so
thank you, Matthew. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
I don't know how long you've been here, but I hope you enjoyed spending.
And the Fed, yes.
Almost 2 hours with us. Part of your Friday.
Yeah, I mean it's really.
It's been a long week.
Yeah, and again, as to everybody, like, and always, like, don't discount who you are. Don't discount your ability to change minds. Like, if there's anything I can say to anybody to inspire you, I'll say it every time because it's so important. Because I say this to myself every time. Like, you don't know what impact you're having on other people. You know what I mean? Until it happens. Like, sometimes you may not even find out that it happens because
people can change subconsciously.
People can change. Like, sometimes people read things they don't tell you, right? They don't give you the feedback. Oh, hey, you changed my mind on something. Oh, you shared this article. This, that, like,
or whatever. Yeah.
You don't know, and the only thing you can do, the only thing you have control of, is your life, your relationships, and what you share, and what you put out there. Exactly. And so it doesn't matter who you are. Like, you can make a difference. You know what I mean? You can just whatever. Even if it's an article shale. 15 seconds later. Yeah. Article share, whatever, YouTube video, whatever. It doesn't matter. Talking to your brother, talking to your sister, talking to your mother. It doesn't matter. Like, you're bringing peace and love.
Warrior. As much as people make
keyboard
fun of that,
warrior. It's like, no, dude.
There are people who may not even like, for whatever reason, they don't want to, advertise to the world what they think, right? Some people have coworkers as friends and they don't want to like certain things, but they're reading it, they're looking at it, and I don't know, unless you're the NSA, you can't really track that, like what people are looking at.
Yeah.
You can just see comments and likes. And if they don't comment or like, well, you don't know.
Exactly.
But I know from my experience and also hearing other people talk about how they became libertarians, countless people just saying, oh, I just had a debate with somebody, or even someone said to me, and like one of the people on my page who were like having a conversation with them, they're like, oh, wow, you gave me a different way of thinking. And she followed up with, thank you for not being mean about it. Like, thank you for just trying to educate and not like calling me names and saying I'm stupid, a stupid status or whatever.
Right.
And
that can be hard sometimes because obviously make jokes or have insider humor.
Sometimes it's hard not to laugh at absurdity.
It can be
because it's a form of a defense mechanism, or can be laughing. When something's just so like crazy or painful or traumatic, you're just like, ha ha.
But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? You matter. What you do matters. You as an individual matters, and don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise, because they're full of crap and they're trying to project their own insecurities onto you. You matter. What you do matters again. And
you know what?
We're
especially yourself. Listen to just exercise for tonight. Go home. You lay in bed, whatever. Eat dinner. Whenever you have some silent time, just think about, how do I treat myself on the inside? Like, think about, how do you talk to yourself in your mind, And having been someone who did this, like, and I had a lot of friends who would just talk to themselves like they're just worthless. They're like, oh, I'm so stupid. And they just continue that in their heads. And, in some ways it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, It's like the more you say it, now you're like subconsciously creating that reality, or like acting, quote, stupid or whatever, or just not caring. So just treat yourself with love. Start there first. It always comes back to you. How I really believe and have seen that the way people treat others is usually a reflection of how they talk to themselves internally and treat themselves, at least talking wise,
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, so just be mindful of that, and
a quick note here, Fort Galt, I see high five from Chile. There's an example right there. Fort Galt, right?
Cool.
Literally an example of someone who is working to build a libertarian or voluntarist community. And it's not Galt's Gulch, there's a whole scandal, stuff like that. That was I really am angry at those people who scam people. That was evil. But for what I've seen, obviously I've been there, but from what I've seen online, Fort Galt is a serious project for a new type of liberty community. And that's exactly what we need. Is we need people who are excited and invested in thinking about ways to exit the state, because again, they're not going to leave us alone. We just saw that with Taiwanese government going after CSAT or stuff like that.
Yep.
It's going to take literally tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who are, liberty-minded voluntarists who care about that and want to build a culture for that to build that somewhere else and come together. It's going to take exiting that status paradigm, and that's going to take a diverse group of people from all over the world. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are. If you care about individual liberty, if you care about peaceful parenting, if you care about, self-directed education and like having that mindset of wanting to always grow, like that's what we need. We need people who really are passionate about that and are willing to put their time and resources.
No matter what race and culture or traditions that you carry, you can have those same principles.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm like, immigration, let's get rid of the things that incentivize, mass migration, like public housing, like government using eminent domain to kick people out of their houses and create housing like we saw in Europe. Like, just letting people be free, and, the immigration wouldn't be a problem if the state wasn't so involved.
Right. Right. And again, just tying that up is just basically that fundamentally it's about changing minds. Like, it doesn't matter who it is around the world. The goal is to change minds for peace, for prosperity, through principles, because no matter what, if you don't change people's minds, liberty is not going to last. People are going to just get caught back up with their fears and say, oh, well, I got to support a state, and keep rationalizing it. It doesn't matter who it is, native population, this or that. It doesn't matter. If you don't change minds, it's not going to matter. It's not going to last.
Yes.
And, any type of rationalization for whatever specific issue, as long as you still hold on to that, whatever it is, it will always inherently excuse state power, because the government does not, the people in government, I should say specifically, they're not going to allow the liberty to go. They're not like wanting to let that go, but they will be like, oh yeah, let's work together to support more power for us.
They make ridiculous amounts of money.
Right.
Okay. People like to talk about, oh, look at the billionaire Jeff Bezos, look at Bill Gates, they'll be like, oh, so evil. But it's like, is anyone going to talk about like the people who are way richer than them? Like the banksters, the central bankers, the ones who are worth trillions? Like, anyone talk about those? So,
well, no, yeah, I mean, in terms of like, yeah, I mean, of course, if you look at any kind of media when it comes to like, oh, us versus them, rich versus poor, the 1%, none of them. Facebook. Oh no. Well, I guess that means we're going to wrap this up here in a minute.
Yeah.
It's just kind of silly, because it's like nobody actually talks about the people who really have political power or have made agreements with governments
and are really actively extorting people.
Right. People, they attack the people who are like providing some type of good or service of value, right? They'll attack, people who are actually doing something that people want, like Jeff Bezos at Amazon, like, Bill Gates. And I don't like all this stuff with
anymore.
With his side stuff. But in terms of, he's providing a product. Like, at the end of the day, like him or not,
Facebook even,
it's a product. Right. They are providing an operating system. They're providing word processing. They're providing Excel. They're providing all, cloud services. They're attacking people actually at least providing a product. They're not attacking people whose riches and wealth are based on purely cronyism. They're not attacking people
Hillary
who are
Clinton. No one talks about her.
They don't talk about millionaires, billionaires who are not providing actual value to people, who are just politically connected, who are getting the government to force their products, who are getting money off of government loans, taxpayer back. So that's the real manipulation, is to attack people who are producing value, who want to create market value, but ignore intentionally enrich themselves through cronyism. So yeah. All right.
This was a harder to end than my live hangout. So about the same. Our monthly live hangout, Zach, if you're watching.
That's true. Yeah. If you want to, was your Patreon, you want to plug it?
I'll do a plug.
Yeah.
So now that we're on YouTube, please like, subscribe, share.
Yes, like, subscribe, share, guys. Sure.
But seriously, if you want to support like these conversations, my thoughts on this podcast was I really liked it. I want to continue. I really like hanging out with everybody. Sorry we can't get to all the comments. It just kind of goes fast. Thank you to everyone who gave super chats. That really helps our operations.
These operations.
Our Blue Yeti. Yes. No, but I want to, if you believe in what we do, if you think we have some semblance of skill and think that we can help to spread liberty, throw us some bones.
Well, yeah, I mean, that goes for anybody. And it's not even just us. Like, seriously, like,
I was going to say Patreon.
Right, exactly. Like Patreon and stuff like that. But I just want to make it clear that, we're not the end all be all of anything either. So please, again, because that's how serious we are about liberty. Yeah. It's not just us. Like if you like the Mises Institute,
find people you
or Cato,
like, or who communicate the message of liberty in the style
or
that
Foundation
you
for Economic Education, Students for Liberty. If you like other liberty content creators, whatever. If you find someone giving you value and you're like, wow, right, exactly, like anybody. Please.
Volunteers.
Comics. Of course, I'm selfishly plug volunteers. But again, it really does make a difference to anyone that you really value. And again, it doesn't even have to be us, but if you're giving to someone who is providing value, like whatever is Larkin Rose who writes or
make memes,
Butter,
or be in the comments, just anything, just whatever you specialize in.
Right.
If you're someone who's like, I'm really good at, I make the most money in the corporate world, right? Whatever, you climb up the corporate ladder.
Right.
Hey, and you don't have the time to make your own content, fund people that do,
Like thank you here, Joshua Project. Thank you, the Joshua Project. Thank you for your support there. Again, not just us. We do appreciate everybody who supports us, and of course, selfishly, of course, we love to be supported. But again, there are going to be people that you love, right? Of course, it is a given, right? But again, if there's someone today who you will always have loved or appreciated, it doesn't even have to be us or what we do. Again, helping them really makes a difference. Carrie Wedler, she's awesome, right? Chris Voluntarius. Julie Borowski, right? She's not anarchist, but she definitely does good work. Tom Woods,
Dave Smith, Michael Mouse.
Again, there are people who are doing great things in different capacities.
Institute for Justice.
Institute for Justice, love them.
There's organizations, not just content creators. It's not just people.
Yeah.
Be careful with politicians.
Yes.
Look at their history.
Politicians generally. But
run yourself. I don't know. Yeah. I know I'm serious. Like as a transition,
Eric July,
we need more libertarians in.
Right, and it does. And
let's attack them in all ways because they're attacking us in every single medium. School, they're trying to get the children. They have property taxes. They garnish your wages. The movies. They have all of these like propaganda machines that we're fighting. So
and that's
anything you can do, specialize. That's a capitalist society. You specialize because that's how you get efficiencies in wealth, and you get wealth creation, but you get efficiencies in labor because you're just focused on what you're really good at and what you can do that you're really good at.
Right.
You'll produce more than someone else who doesn't have the same skills, whatever it is, cooking, anything, cleaning, programming, anything like.
No,
I'm listing things.
But what you're saying, again, important tie is that remember at the end of the day, with what you do with your time and resources, again, where you're sowing those seeds into the economy, you could be supporting people who are promoting statism or dysfunctional relationships
as well.
Or you could be trying to be like, okay, what's my favorite liberty entertainment or liberty information and supporting that, right? Like what you choose to consume with your time and resources, stuff like that. You could, again, you could be readily producing the future for liberty. And again, it doesn't have to be me, although of course I love it, but again, it doesn't have to be me, it doesn't have to be her. Of course, I'm sure you love it. But again, please do. If there's anybody that like really impacted you in your life, make sure to thank them, make sure to, whatever it is you can, if you throw a couple bows this or that, because those people, are working very hard. And we both, neither of us is like, oh, this is just our only thing, right? We work, jobs, you could say. We actually do things. We provide regular mainstream market value. We really do that. We provide regular job things.
Go get a job. I'm like,
right. It's like
so funny.
She literally is a programmer, like for real. But people, it's in your interview.
They know.
In your interviews you've done before, you said you were a programmer. Yeah. So
no, but I just think it's funny. People are just, like, you don't have to justify it to them. They're just gonna make these assertions without evidence. It's funny. Right.
But again, it's, we are not like some bums. We try to do as much as we can. We also support the people too. We're not just like, we talk about it. Like, we also try to support others, whatever we can, either financially or through, help or whatever, promotion, this or that. So like again,
the Mises Institute, they're like very scholarly articles on economics. I refer to them so much.
Right.
I donated to them. I'm a member.
Exactly. No, it's that whole concept of how can we foster the libertarian, voluntarist, whatever you want to say, culture and community. The more that we can fund within there as best as possible, it's going to only grow that culture of liberty.
Like a culture of critical thinking, of empathy, of compassion, love, whatever you find valuable, and really think about it, and support those who you think are carrying out the vision for you, or support yourself, and try to bring that vision to life.
Right.
And what you really believe in. For you love comics, you love anime in general, superheroes. I do too.
Right.
That's why I really like voluntarists. But you started your own comic and you saw I'm really frustrated with all of these really status comics kowtowing to authority, kowtowing to kings, queens, whatever.
Right.
You're like, I want to make my own. And hey, not everyone's going to believe in you. I don't think there's a single person where everyone believes in what they're doing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, there's always at least one, but with billions of people in the world, there's plenty. Like, who just don't like what you're doing. They're going to try to put you down. But look, if you thought through it critically, you really believe that it's important, you should do it. And
right. Yeah. And yes, and thank you again, Matthew.
This was a long
Alistair, he said y'all do impressive stuff and also working jobs. Yes, it's a lot of work.
Isn't it hard to leave when you're hanging out?
It is hard. It's hard when you're leaving. But yeah, trust me, we bust our booties every day to produce content and to also provide value and do stuff, and not just be bums. We're not looking to just be bums and not do anything. I'm working to provide mainstream value as well. So
Brian said, in a free society, immigration
exactly. Immigration is not called moving. We completely agree that
all the people migrating from Cali, from New York,
it's looking at the root causes, as always. The root problems with incentives is the government destabilizing people in the first place. Obviously,
and having empathy.
Nobody wants to move.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like thousands of miles or go across sand and desert.
Empathy and self-defense. That's what you need in a free society. Empathy, but also self-defense. Someone violates your rights, don't be afraid to defend yourself. And of course, there are people in government that want to make it harder and harder for you to do that. So we got to fight against that as well. Gun Owners America.
And Second Amendment Foundation, SAF, right? Definitely supports SAF.
They're working tirelessly to just in all different states, just trying to challenge things legally. And see, they're attacking in any way they know how, through the legal system, through the courts.
Right. I mean, there's some validity to trying to fight in those realms. Of course, it's just it is fleeting.
You still got to change minds.
It's temporary.
It's more just looking at the symptoms.
It's symptomatic. And again, there is a value to fighting things symptomatically. Of course, changing minds through that way, or trying to just stave off true mass persecution. But again, changing minds is the core. We're not going to be able to meaningfully move toward liberty unless we actually really get people to internalize those ethics. So.
We got to really drain the swamp of our minds.
Drain the mental swamp.
Drain the swamp.
And it's true. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I mean, you can probably relate to that. You were, again, not always as principled and ethical as you were today. It took hard ass
things
work.
To people.
Article 13.
To them. Oh. We've done that so many times. I'm actually very curious if this video is gonna be monetized. So
yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
They can't take away super chat, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you to everyone. That was really cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course, there's an incentive to live stream now. I appreciate YouTube offering the super chat option, but as we see, even we have backups, PewDiePie has his backup now on D Live.
I know, right? That was amazing.
Coincidentally, after Article 17 passed,
and he left to Japan. PewDiePie's
he left to Japan. He left Europe.
My butt hurts. All right.
Oh, your butt hurts. Okay. Well,
it's been a while. Oh gosh.
I feel like I said well.
We've been saying well a lot.
Yeah. I take it people like this, so we're gonna do this again. Someone
Yes.
said you guys are drunk. I'm not drunk.
I
I'm tired.
I wouldn't call myself drunk. You should see when I get drunk. This is just literally like a little bit of just happy.
You eat a lot of
happy
pizza.
sake. I need some pizza though. That's happened.
All right, guys, we can get some pizza.
That's happened.
You guys get some pizza.
Yeah, I'll get some
If you
pizza.
got New York pizza, get it extra crispy.
Oh
Crispy,
gosh,
crispy,
I killed
extra
some New York
sauce.
pizza right now.
Kill.
I kill some.
He's a volunteerist except when he's hungry.
Except when I'm hungry, right? Yeah.
End it.
I'd kill some bills. That's about it.
Look, it's Alex from Free Knots. Hey, Alex from
Alex,
Free
there you
Knots.
go.
I love you guys.
We have 2 musicians.
Oh, we have 2 rappers. Fatty
two
Garcia.
rappers, 2 Liberty rappers.
Pizza emoji.
Right, Fatty Garcia and Free Knots are in the thread.
Hey,
so
we're gonna do a rap collab someday. All right, maybe.
I know, right?
Maybe through super chats we'll fund it.
Yeah, and
we'll
Cap
fund a
Grind.
music
We
video
actually do that. That's free.
with Free Knots and Fatty Garcia.
There's
That'd
another
be
rap
so
video
cool.
that we have in the works. So if y'all liked
True.
ANCAP Grind,
Okay, and with that,
yes,
if you want to see behind the scenes stuff,
that's true.
click down below to subscribe. No, I'm just kidding. Join my Patreon page
At the
until Ruben and Peterson come up with an alternative. Waiting.
I know. I'm really
Hey, it
like,
takes time.
come
It's
on,
software.
Ruben. Come on,
That's
Peterson. Make
that's
the thing you
enterprise
said you were
software.
gonna make.
I understand. Hey, it's hard. It's hard. They
Yeah, it is hard.
underestimated.
It is hard.
So join my Patreon
Oh.
if you want in the meantime and get behind the scenes. Join the hangouts if you want. Zach Lukowski's there if you want to get to know Zach. No, but like there's a few people who go regularly, including Asian Capitalist, sometimes, not as regular, but he's busy with his own Asian Capitalist podcast. So it's really great. So yeah, you should join for the inside scoop or just to support, which that's what a lot of people do. They just kind of support, and I really appreciate that. So
yeah, no, it definitely helps, obviously, because doing
So
what
hope
you
to see you
do,
there.
it's not, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes money, it takes resources. Like, you know what I mean? Like, lighting doesn't come out of nowhere. You know, computers don't come out of nowhere. Mics don't come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, the ability to have, you know, editing and the software, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't magically happen,
yes,
right?
and also
So-
if you have feedback for me, I love like my patrons, like you guys, if any of you are
Yeah.
here. Well, Alex says, thank you, Alex. And Fatty, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not being derogatory when I say Fatty. So just your staging. But they're like my insiders. I like being able to have a group of people that I can, you know, talk more about what's going on behind the scenes with Philosopher and them being there for this journey, you know. And for any events, I see you guys. I definitely want to treat you guys all to drinks or whatever on me. So yeah. Anyway, hope you guys have a good night and a weekend.
Careful with that. It's like 80,000 people show up. You're like, okay, how are you gonna?
They're all
Yeah,
patrons.
it's like crap.
I mean, hey, if 80,000 people became patrons, I think I could afford a drink.
Oh my goodness, we have to get some kegs for that. Someone asked what the next chat's going to be, either this next weekend or the weekend after.
I like Fridays. Fridays is like,
Friday's pretty good.
yeah, it's a nice also like let's recap the week, talk about what
Yeah.
happened, and
Yeah. So yeah, next streaming live from the club
Thank
on
you, Mark.
Fridays. Yeah.
Mark says, "I wish you the best of luck." Thank you, you too,
Yeah.
and thanks for still being here. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's it. Let's
Yeah,
wrap it up.
that's
I need
it.
pizza, so I'm getting pizza.
you're beautiful. You're free. I took that from Conscious Resistance. Derek Bros, you're awesome. Okay.
All right.
Have
Take
a
care,
good
everybody.
night.
You're
Love
awesome.
you guys. Cheers.
You're awesome, and
Cheers.
You're awesome as
Bye.
All right. Cheers. Finish. Wait. Okay, my finger.
Oh, that was
hit.
Facebook.
Oh, that's Facebook. YouTube, you're still here? Okay.
Bye, YouTube.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, okay,
there we
there we go.
go.